It's the heart and soul of our sport, where these players strive to become who they're truly meant to be.
No more break, it's time for action. Welcome to Overwatch Contenders. Welcome to you all, as we are here now for the evening segment of today. Well, evening at least for us. Elsewhere it could be different, but it is the Summer Series amazing North American region here. I am excited to be here alongside Kenobi. I am Rich Rat, and I think we still have some really exciting games today, Kenobi, as we get closer and closer to completing this round robin stage.
Yeah, I mean, the stakes are really high, probably the highest they've been throughout the entirety of the round robin stage so far, especially in NA, where we have all of these teams so close between each other in those standings. No one's really secured any spots yet. That could obviously change after today's matches and going into tomorrow as well, but a lot to still play for, I think, for a lot of these teams, especially when it comes to like seeding. There are some teams that are even fighting for their chances to even get into playoffs, squeaking into that 7th or 8th seed. But here's the schedule that we have for today. Saints versus O3 Splash starting us off, and then Wisp versus Amplify. That first one, a battle of second versus third, should be an absolute banger to start us off. And I wouldn't be shocked, Rich, if we continue our tradition of a very competitive, very long first series of the day. This feeling like a map fiver to me, potentially.
100%. And we can take a look at the standings overall, and you touched on it, to where that basically 5th to 9th teams are really fighting for those final spots because it's so close. We've got 5 and 3s, we've got 4 and 4s, and 3 and 5s. That can be a lot of shifting with today and tomorrow's games. So there is so much to fight for across the board here. And I am stoked to see how it's going to really pan out. As you mentioned, the 2nd and 3rd seed to start the day off with. And at this point, too, for what you and I got to see from O3 Splash, a moment of redemption, because they did just recently lose to Wisp, and not the most great of fashion either. So now they want to come back at this and really show that they are still a top competitor, especially going against Saints, who is that number 3.
Yeah, I mean, O3 Splash has a really tough strength of schedule going forward through the rest of this round robin, right? They play Saints today. They also play Good Boys and then round it out with playing Pips. So basically the 3rd seed, the 5th seed, and the 1st seed going in today. So, I mean, it's going to be a very tumultuous journey for O3 Splash to try and keep that 7-1 record. Pirates Gem is looking pretty at 7-1 as well, with that very high map differential, as you saw. But obviously, starting things off, going into chat predictions, 1 for Saints, 2 for O3 Splash. Make sure you get those in. We want to hear from you. And I think that, like, the other thing about this matchup in particular is that this is, again, another litmus test, I think, for O3 Splash, because their strength of schedule had been relatively easy. Beforehand, they had played Timeless, I think, was the strongest, and, like, Strix was another strong opponent that they had before, but they haven't played someone the caliber of Saints, who looked very good when we saw them on broadcast last time, even bringing Tree in, to play the tank role. And actually, if my eyes are not deceiving me right now,
oh my,
Tree's gonna run the gauntlet, run the gambit, I guess. Just, DPS, tank, support. Why not?
They on the Liquipedia page, they want all 3 icons to be available to them, and not just specifically one. They're shooting for the whole gambit. As we do get to see another name in here that we were able to have unbenched for the moment, as some would say, especially from our interview, King, coming out of this, which we did see the tail end of their match, where the Genji play was absolutely stellar on that map of New Queen Street, where they were just completely dominating against their opponent in such a convincing fashion over Strix. But just overall, this roster in and of itself is one to be, not too calm to compete against.
And I mean, we do have to kind of mention why Tree is in this position. It's because Cal has, left and gone to the Gladiators. So, congratulations to Cal. They've been working very hard. In Contenders have been one of the best, I think, supports we've had in Contenders for quite a while, consistently. So definitely hats off to Cal, and congratulations to them for being able to make it to the Gladiators. We'll see if Tree can fill the void that Cal has left behind. But that other team that you're talking about on the other side, O3 Splash, I think this team was interesting to me, like how much of it was weird, because they were like 7-0 going into this, and going into that matchup we saw against Wisp, and they got absolutely fleeced by Wisp.
Yes.
I mean, Wisp absolutely took them to the trailer park and just completely annihilated them. And I think for O3 Splash, this is about redemption for them, like you were talking about earlier, where they need to find a way to kind of bring the momentum back, because if they start to fall pretty heavily down in this group stages, I would be very worried about that momentum affecting them going into the playoffs, because they were so strong at the start. now kind of like, what was that? I guess it's like the question would be, was that 3-0 just a fluke, or are they like, you know, really now at this point trying to fight up against the best of the best, and do they have the teeth to be able to compete?
And it might have been one of those occasions where, you know, you find yourself on top, you become a little bit more, you know, soft in thinking, you know, what their competitor is going to bring to this. Wisp being, you know, having their rough leaps and bounds through over the course of last season and going into this one now for Summer Series. And they really came back with a force to be reckoned with. An 0-3 Splash now, I agree with you. I think that they could maybe look to that being a one-off situation to where they get 3-0'd and have quite a performance played against them. But now that they have this time to reset, they've had about a week to be able to find their footing and can go against this squad, Saints, which, again, like you mentioned, a little bit of an adjustment with the roster due to that amazing opportunity for Cal. And we're going to be heading on to Oasis first as our map to see how both these teams are going to unleash what their preparation is for each other.
And with False being in the lineup, I would expect this is maybe trending towards something that's not the Winston. Usually this is a map where we could see like a lot of Winston, but also you have those maps specifically like University where you see a lot of the to like try and maybe get Tree some sea legs under him to figure out how to play like the support role, because it's not, you know, it's not as easy as just like rotating it back in. You got to learn some positioning stuff. And Tree, I think, is very smart, so it shouldn't be too hard for them to figure it out. And the rest of the team around him is very good.
Yeah, and I mean, having that ample time is really important. Whereas if it was a lot closer to the playoff bracket where, again, Saints are saying, you know what, this is the moment where we just kind of play our game. We're not too overly tense about the methodology behind it. They still continue to play to their strengths. And then once they get into that playoff stage, that's where they really step it into high gear. And now being able to have Tree step into this role due to circumstances, giving them that time, I 100% agree with you that there is more than enough for them to start getting back into their A game specifically. And this will be like a really great, I think, litmus test to see how Tree is going to fulfill this role. And also, I think, give a little bit of an opportunity for 0-3 Splash to get their footing back up on this as well after the match that they had recently.
I think it's great for Saints that they have someone like Vega to be next to Tree in this situation, because Vega is like one of the... I think you can make an argument that Vega is the best support that we have just in Contenders NA in general right now, because of the strength and his flexibility, being able to go over to things like the flex supports and be very mechanically good at those as well, and just his understanding of Lucio. I think that having Vega there next to Tree is going to help a lot in kind of making sure that Tree is able to like fit a little bit easier into this support role as Saints are going to be starting off. I don't think Tree is going to be playing the Life Weaver to start things off. That's definitely not what's going to happen. This is most certainly going to be an Ana. But again, get your chat predictions in: 1 for Saints, 2 for 0-3 Splash.
This is actually what Tree is going to bring out. No, I'm just kidding, everybody. Like, could you imagine? I would just want to see one round of this. Like, just one round.
Nope.
Just
no way in all hell do I want to see that. The less Life Weaver we see, the better.
Ooh, those are some bold words, as we do have some bold words about to be traded among actions here, pushing up to this initial position on Gardens. Nice hack to come out early, though, onto King, keeping them up top on that catwalk, as Vision down below needs to be cautious in how they enter into this, since they are at a low health value, needing to get some assistance either from Tree or Vega to get back in, as Luke really is able to just buy some time, stick into the back, wait for Infected to dive in onto this, and actually giving a lot of coverage to the supports where really False can't get as much value. Nice recovery. Luke gets the pickup, denies King a second time here after the hack earlier, so it's really challenging for Saints to get a solid foothold where 0-3 Splash is really taking full control of this.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, they're trying their best at this point from Saints and from False specifically to try and zone out the backline, but it's not really managing to work, and I think 0-3 Splash is having a really easy time right now just maneuvering around this map. They're focusing down King a lot, specifically from boats, and using those hacks and making sure King isn't able to just roam around the map as much as he wants, because they know that there's a potential for King to be able to spam and then get an assassination and then the fight ends. So really good, I think, target prioritization coming out from Boat, as Pulse Bomb from Lukewarm does not manage to hit. Vision is coming up on one of their own, and that could be a difference maker.
Active, primed and ready. You do have the translocate out, so there's no ability to escape on that, but Vision doesn't go full throttle just yet, continuing to really keep an eye on where Boat is entering back into this. Who will have... Oh, what a sleep! Oh my goodness, are they going to collapse on it? There is the conjunction so that they can completely take them down. Tree as well going to be shut out. So this is another fight win here for 0-3.
Yeah, and I mean, now with the percentage continuing to tick up, it's going to be even harder for Saints to enter into these fights because of the fact that you have 0-3 Splash with this EMP on the board. And I think one of the other things we have to talk about Tree not being able to, play in this roster and play on the DPS end is that Vision has kind of had to take over for this Tracer role in this matchup. And Vision, much more known as like a hit scan player, more so than anything else, and the Tracer is not something we've seen too much from him. And you can see just a little bit lacking behind Lukewarm right now in the TVT battle. As the Nano comes in onto King, the sleep is so good though.
Yep, and just outside of that barrier, a little bit premature in dropping it to deny that situation, but underneath, Deco getting a lovely whip shot onto King to secure that elimination, who has been consistently brought down early in these fights, not really being as valuable as they would like to. The duplicate not yielding any value either. 20% still to go, and 0-3 Splash is still in prime position to take this.
And Saints used everything for that fight. I mean, that was everything in the kitchen sink that they had that they threw at that fight and didn't end up winning it. And in fact, it still has the Primal Rage, so sustainability is way in favor of the 0-3 Splash right here. And it's last fight territory. Saints got to make something happen in neutral, but Tree is absolutely obliterated. And with Vega going down soon, that's going to be the fight. There's no way back for this one.
It's squashed on entry. Infected, as you mentioned, with the Primal Rage, zoning out the remaining. There's no ability for Saints to gain any sort of control, so that is a 100 to 0%. And 0-3 Splash, as you and I talked about at the start, are definitely wanting this to look like it was a one-time event against Wisp.
Yeah, this is also one that I think that we have to contextualize just a little bit. I mean, 0-3 Splash did play that very well, but also Saints just don't look like the same Saints that we saw, even like last week, right, where they had Cal still in the roster. Saints now being able, having Tree on this role, it makes it a lot more difficult. Now with like potentially we go over to a map that's a little bit more open, False can play something he's a little bit more comfortable with. That's potentially where we can see Saints start to come back into this one.
And I'd love to see this Junker Queen because it's played to such proficiency from Saints. Alongside Tree, going to be here with that Kiriko to have a lot of the, survivability, the Suzu, having the Swift Step for mobility across this. So I'm liking how they're going to bring this composition to the table, especially with Vision on the Cassidy.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot more easier for Saints to pilot, especially now when you have Vision on this Cassidy. Long-range hit scan is the wheelhouse of Vision, and King on the Tracer, very prolific Tracer in his own right. So I think that this for Saints, this is a much better composition for them to pilot on this map. But already King gets taken out by a nice combination between Lukewarm and Bo, and that means that now the double flanker look from 0-3 Splash can play much more aggressively because they don't have to worry about that other Tracer.
Yeah, so clean out the gate once again, taking full advantage from the get-go. Pulse sticking to the low ground here. Just getting chipped away for the moment. Lukewarm getting 3 damage onto it to rise towards that pulse bomb. Vision getting covered for the moment. Body block from Tree as there's so much focus fire onto them. Still skirting by with just a sliver of health, eluding around the architecture. King and Vision work in tandem to take down the duo that got the early pickup and gives Saints the opportunity to claim this first.
Really good patience from Saints there, being able to just survive through all of that.
You got hit by the car!
That's unlucky, It happens sometimes on a map like this, but it was really good patience. I mean, from Saints, they lose King that early, but the thing is they don't really panic too much. Tree gets taken down very low, but the peel is very good and he's able to escape. So Saints, I think, did a really good job of just weathering that storm, and now they're looking kind of okay, especially with Vision taking down Lukewarm. That means no Pulse Bomb is in this fight, and 0-3 Splash are going to have to wait to get back into this one. I think they're probably going to be, coming in, waiting for that Pulse Bomb, then probably trying to use the Nano, seeing if that's something that they need to really break open this fight.
King up top could look for the triple dash to find value onto somebody with this Pulse Bomb, but waiting, keeping a watchful eye of where Boat is. They are lurking in the backside. You could hear the hack attempt come through. Dive forward now from Infected as you have the Nano active. Pulse Bomb still being held onto. There is the Kitsune Rush, but Tree is eliminated upon activation. Pulse gets 1, so that is something for the Troubles, but this is still 0-3 Splash with numbers advantage to play onto this point. False just sticking close, making sure to keep it contested since there's not really the sufficient damage that can eliminate them on this point, and Infected even has to commit to Primal Rage to knock them away. Rampage coming back in to retaliate by Pulse, slept in the back. Nice juggle as well back onto King, and they've swapped it at 69.
I mean, this is very close. Vega's coming back soon with the rallies, so I mean, Saints are just trying to stall this one as much as they can, but with the flip, it's going to make it so much more harder, but actually, it's being committed, and Infected gets obliterated right there, so now it might swap back over, and 0-3 Splash are going to have to retreat again. That's really unfortunate for Lukewarm. I think Vision rolled into him.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty sure
funny.
that happened. Vision's
Yeah.
just like, hey, come here, bud. I ain't gonna let you get away with this.
Yeah, that's a return to sender if I've ever seen one. And now at 85% up and ticking right now. Saints are very close to touching spawn doors, and O3 Splash, I mean, they have some things to work with, like the EMP and like the rally, but Infected desperately is going over onto that Hammond just to offer a little bit of sustainability as they try to contest here and proc that overtime.
Seconds remaining for contention. Dropping back in over top. Infected goes for a nice swing underneath. EMP active. Gets Vision low. Finally gets the pickup shortly after with Boat coordinating alongside Infected. So there is the opportunity with the numbers advantage now for O3 to swap this back, but it's 99 into the overtime. It's a tall mountain still to climb for O3. They do have to commit the rally into this to make sure that they have enough fortification to sustain on this point. The pulse bomb gets blocked, consumed, and making sure that it is going to be denied by that shield. Nice landing as well from that front position. The force back. Saint, as Infected rotates here, gets a pickup onto the back line, but Vision and King are bringing this back in. They eliminate Deco, so it's only going to be Neutral looking to survive through this. Has the nano boost and commits it onto the front line, making sure that Luke can just bob and weave around to find these pickups. Vision in their sights, and they're still holding on to this with percentage.
I mean, False is still alive somehow, someway, just sustaining with the healing coming in from the Kiriko. Kitsune Rush is available for Tree relatively soon here, and that might be a commitment, I think, from Saints. They want to go back in with these ultimate advantages.
Jagged Blade pulls Infected, Rampage across the back line, chasing down Neutral, what a sleep to buy some time, but King is there with the assistant, also having the Suzu and just reposition of the Swift Step from Tree forward to guarantee that they eliminate it, and now we'll swap it back in the overtime and look to just force back the remaining queue of O3.
Yeah, just a lonely Infected here, and eventually goes down, and O3 Splash have to find a way to potentially get someone back on. They cannot, and that is going to be a win from Saints here on the second sub. And I think it definitely makes sense why they won that map, because it looked like a lot more comfort, right? You saw False on Junker Queen, Vision was on Cassidy, King was on Tracer Tree. Like, I think that if there was like a support that's like the most DPS-ish, it is going to be something like a Kiriko, so that felt like a lot better from Saints because I think it played a lot more to their comfort, and that's why it looks so good, as we'll see probably. Yeah. Oh no, not even. Oh, actually it was Magnetic Grenade, so they couldn't blink away. Just the hinder.
Yeah, all right.
Really well
Okay, I love that capture by our observers, always giving us exactly what we might not have seen, just having some fun with as we enter in now to the third round and say 1 for 1
I'd be so
score.
mad if I was Lukewarm.
Oh, I would be
so
as well.
mad. I would be so
Feeling
mad.
the chill of death there coming in from Vision. We opt in now to University. Wall comes out from Boat instantly to try and deny access, especially with that jump from Tree on the Baptiste. Brawling towards the window position as Vision still gets a decent amount of damage, has not yet generated towards that rail shot, but getting still quite a bit of charge with the few that do put themselves in that sight line. Nice rotation back down to the point as the wall comes in again from Boat to block them. No one yet eliminated. This King in the back looks to potentially get a couple of decent icicles alongside Vision. Forcing out the cryo freeze is big though. Boat vulnerable. Nice wall to give the assistance from Infected, but this side angle from Vision and the reposition can be really challenging. It's an extended skirmish and no one yet dropping.
Gotta keep an eye on these ultimates. Tree is getting really close towards the amplification matrix, and also Lukewarm has been farming this backline for a Pulse Bomb, is getting really close towards it. That could be something that could make the difference as this fight continues to be elongated.
An extensive duration. It's been a long time since we've seen one go this long before a takedown happens, as Deco will be the first blood among combat. There is a Pulse Bomb and an Annihilation in return from False to force back O3. Saints managed to gain this and start climbing with percentage.
And I think this is really well played from Saints specifically, where if you have someone like Lukewarm on a Tracer just continuously pestering your backline, really big props to them for Saints for just not panicking, right? Because it's very easy to just get overwhelmed about that Tracer, kind of turn around and make sure everyone has to look back at them, but Saints just said, no, it's not really that big of a deal. We have the sustainability to chew through it. They're able to win that fight, and now Lukewarm is taking down Vision, though. That's big.
Rotating in the back, Blizzard still being held onto. Tossed out just after the cryo freeze, but Lukewarm with the rail shots coming in big onto King. So that buys them a little bit more time to keep it in contention, but still O3 Splash able to force away the rest of Saints to swap this over and stabilize for some generation.
I felt a little bit like desperation there from King throwing down that Blizzard, thinking that there was a possibility to win that one, but free farming for Lukewarm on that high ground as O3 Splash. Health bar is getting a little bit low here, and Vision now with an overclock into this fight. Coming from the high ground, Sound Barrier is used to negate it.
Nice coverage. Has the moment. Keep them alive. Deco gets the counterplay onto Vision with the overclock as well, giving so much attention to that to deny any sort of value that we consistently see Vision bring.
Really love that understanding as well from O3 Splash, where they know that there's no sound barrier on the other side, so they can just go in aggressively onto that high ground with the sustainability and overshields from the sound barrier and completely take Vision out of the equation. So O3 Splash now are going to eclipse the percentage of the Saints here. Both teams coming in on those Ant Matrices.
The doorway of doom from both sides. Nice wall for the moment. What a shot from Lukewarm on the rail. Able to continue pumping out damage. False needs to be extremely cognizant. They draw back. Another body shot comes out onto Tree, so Deco can get the follow-up with the boop. They are just consistently following up on those initiations from Lukewarm.
And I mean, this is something we've seen Lukewarm do a lot throughout this group stages so far when we've seen O3 Splash on broadcast, where once the Sojourn starts heating up for Lukewarm, there's almost no way of cooling it down, right? Even against some competition like Vision, who is extremely talented on the Sojourn as well, Lukewarm has just been firing on all cylinders. Now with the overclock available and we're in last fight territory, Saints are going to have to make a miracle happen here.
You can see this two-pronged positioning. Boat, oh my goodness, Cryo Freeze instantly has to be procced to survive through that damage coming in from Saints as they rotate towards the center position. Falls very far forward, pops the Annihilation, looks to isolate them away, but is instantly shut down. The counterplay from Infected with the Annihilation of their own. 3 ultimates stacked on top of one another to completely remove Saints from this position, and it allows O3 to claim this first map of control.
O3 Splash take control here and bounce back a little bit from what had happened last week. Looking, I think besides that one, the second sum up that we saw, it was pretty much relatively convincing for O3 Splash here. Lukewarm, after this twist onto the Sojourn, really started popping off. I love this play as well from Deco and the entire team. Just knowing that Vision's not really going to be able to live, right? If you have 500 health, Sojourn one-shot from Overclock is not something you have to worry about. So just really good macro understanding from O3 Splash here, using those ultimate advantages in the best way possible. And again, with Lukewarm popping off as much as he did, I think this was a great performance from O3 Splash to start things off and start taking their steps to securing themselves one of those top 2 spots, because I think going 7-0 is something, before last week when they played Wisp, they were one of the best teams that we had, and then that Wisp, kind of took the feet off the gas just a little bit in terms of how we view them. But if here they can come in and beat the Saints team, I think they're right back as being one of the better teams that we have.
And all those support players in the chat right now are feeling really good seeing a play of the game for support specifically. Deco just smelling blood in the water and saying, all right, I'm coming for you, Vision. I'm coming for you. Those are the kind of plays that you love seeing from supports. And it really is. And I agree with you entirely that O3 now has been able to, even though there's still some glimmers of, great play from Saints with this adjustment, and they looked so much better in that second map. They looked substantially better. And now as we waver away from control, entering into our next map type, looking forward to seeing that they can continue to get that foothold to be competitive, to counteract against O3, because it was more so one-sided on the first map, more so the other, and then it really kind of convenes in that third round. So you are absolutely right at the start of the broadcast. I could definitely see this going to a map 5 with the way that both of these are playing for the second and third seed.
And one of the things we also have to kind of mention about the Saints team as well is the fact that they have this tank matchup swap that they, between having False in, between having Mikey in. I think that that's something that we also the team looks different because of how good Mikey is at Winston. And when we go to our second map, which is going to be Numbani, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Mikey enter into this matchup, because of the fact that this is very much a Winston style of map, high ground control, very important. I think the only other option would be Diva or something like that, but I think that at this point, I would love to see Mikey come into this and really start to change things up for the Saints here, bring in that Winston play. Yeah,
and Numbani, again, really being able to utilize that high ground position, especially when we talk about the initial control that they have to gain before transitioning into that payload phase. We've seen some stellar combinations of things. We've seen some Cassidy's. We've seen a lot of Echo, because it just really brings so much value and able to counteract a lot of what these teams are able to do. And also the high risk, high reward factors, where we're seeing these focusing beams getting these initial picks early and are able to capitalize on that space so rapidly rapidly, or we have the polar opposite where nobody really goes down. They extend the time so lengthy, they can't capitalize onto that position, and we do this round robin system back and back again to try and compete it.
But I think this will be good for Saints because, you bring in Mikey on that Winston, very prolific Winston player. King can play that Echo. Vision can play Ashe. It's something that I would actually be very worried about on the other side between Lukewarm and Boat. Boat, I think, can also play the Echo. We saw Boat being able to play that in previous matchups so far. Lukewarm, I think, is probably pretty decent at the hit scan role as well. So I think this is going to be a matchup that does come down to a lot of that tank matchup because we've seen Infected be very good on the Winston as well. And going up against Mikey, I think, is another beast entirely because I think you can make an argument that Mikey is potentially the best Winston player that we do have right now in Contenders, especially given his history, given how well he's played it every time he's come in. But I think that this is a matchup that will really come down to that DPS role. And I think it also is going to be able to take a little bit of pressure off of Tree, because I think the supports, it's a lot easier, I think, on a map like this because you have a lot of high ground to play around with. You can play a little bit more safely. I think it's probably going to be Ana if I had to guess what Tree is going to play on this map, and then Vega will be opting in for the break. So we'll see how that ends up working out because I think that, Tree, I don't want to really criticize Tree at all because I think that it's just very hard to kind of just jump into that support role, even though we've seen things like that tank role. So it's going to take a little bit of time for Tree to really, adjust and marinate into playing that support.
Yeah, it's too premature. We got to get some time. You got to get some reps. You got to get the synergy and understanding of that role. Again, yes, the tank one was an interesting one that we got to see on New Queen Street, but now we're looking to really have Tree fulfill in this role for an extended period of time moving forward, and most likely going to be leading into the playoffs with that time that they do have, as we are getting confirmation of which side each of these are going to be on. It looks like it's going to be Saints on the attack first, where we do have O3 on the defense. So we will be able to see where that bar is set specifically for Saints on this aggression and how they'll be able to fend off against this defensive side, because Neutral is another one that I really keep a watchful eye out for because their play has been so stellar over the last couple of weeks and what they've just been able to do single-handedly with this on.
Yeah, I think that Neutral, I think I remember it was against Afterlife or something? Or no, Worldwide.
It was Worldwide.
I think it was literally just Neutral versus the world, and he was able to just completely melt teams with Ana.
Yes.
Specifically with the nades and things like that, and having that impact is an incredibly important thing. I think when you look at Ana's in this current meta, right? Anti-nade, sleep, so effective against a lot of the heroes that we see. I mean, we've seen, I think, 2 sleep pulse bombs already, and stuff like that. So I think that, when we see an Ana player pop off that much, I don't think we've seen Neutral be as prolific as he was back when it was against Worldwide. But I think that there is that possibility that you always have to keep in the back of your mind that Neutral is someone that needs to be focused out on. And Saints actually switching things up, and again, I like this too, bring in this type of composition, right? Because I think that this composition is playing to your strengths when you have a little bit of a deficit, right? If you just mirror this, there's potential you lose, so bring Tree on the Kiriko and bring Vega, and everyone plays on their comfort, and they immediately evaporate O3 Splash's background.
3, 2, 1, go. And to be fair, you and I have seen Vision on this Reaper and has done significant work with it as well.
I mean, I think it was last year at the end of the year in Run It Back, where Vision, I think for wasn't playing Reaper the entirety of the Grand Finals composition, and then literally 2 days before the Grand Finals, they're just okay, Vision, you want to play Reaper? Vision says yes, and is probably one of the smartest Reapers and best Reapers we have just in that 2-day period. So this is something that, again, I love that Saints are just playing to their comfort here. They're not opting to handshake. They know they have this, switching team dynamics, so they're just saying, hey, we'll play to our comforts, and we're totally fine with that, and they have a really good start to this map already.
And they really catch O3 Splash off guard with how quickly they dive into this. And then there's Tree with, like you mentioned, the damage profile that Kiriko brings to this, getting that one shot right onto Lukewarm instantly opens up space here for them to keep gaining distance.
See, I mean, Mikey getting a little bit too aggressive there, but it's traded back in for King, and Vision is just peppering away at Infected here. And I love this Reaper pick in particular because of the fact that if Infected wants to go a little bit aggressive, he's going to have to be worried about that Reaper just hitting those Hellfire shotguns in the face. But with King going down, looks like Saints are going to have to make a little bit of a retreat here, and O3 Splash stop the bleeding just a little bit. Going to be that Ana Nano available to them, can throw that on Infected or throw it on Boat to be able to just, pop open a fight as much as they would like, especially with Duplicate on boat. You have a lot of room to work with here.
And Lukewarm looking in for that flanking angle, especially because the Pulse Bomb is almost available, now active, and hoping to get this Death Blossom as well for Boat. Tree and Vision already taking down the supports, though, is significant. Can O3 Splash turn this back, though? That's the real question. There have been so many sent back to spawn, fighting under this archway. The payload not moving at all, wanting to dominate this fight before heading back to the objective. The duplicate now for King onto the Winston doesn't gain any value here, but it at least forces back O3 Splash.
I mean, O3 Splash committed a lot to that too, and they were just able to basically weather the storm a little bit here. Mikey still has the Primal Rage available to him. Nano, or anti-hits onto 2, no secured kills just yet.
You can see Lukewarm almost wanted to go in with that Pulse Bomb since both were hit from it, but decides otherwise, looking for another opportunity. Tree in the sights, can't quite get the damage necessary with that Pulse Bomb coming in on top of the sound barrier, so Mikey a little bit more vulnerable, but unfortunately it's got the Primal Rage as well, despite the damage that they've been pumping into him. And now, with only 3 minutes and 25 seconds, they're looking to reach this next checkpoint and balloon their time bank as they're forcing away the last few of O3 Splash chasing down Infected.
Yeah, and I mean, this is great patience from Vision here, just not using that Death Blossom, keeping it for these next couple of fights, because I think that Saints really want to snowball, and just the aggression that O3 Splash are going up against is too much for them right now. Saints are being super aggressive. You saw that one rotation where they went all the way basically to this corridor when they were at second. It was just so good as how easily they're rolling over this team of O3 Splash, who really have been able to stop the bleeding just once, but beyond that, when Saints are just going as a 5-man here, they're looking so clean.
Yeah, the recklessness and tempo that has been continuing to be brought to the start of these fights is really challenging for O3. The rail shot onto Vega is something that they can start looking to, though. Everyone so far forward is looking for the advantage to counteract O3, but Lukewarm gets a nice 2-piece as well, and they will finally shut down all of Saints and look to hold in this archway.
Yeah, this time the aggression doesn't pay off as much as they would have liked, I think, right there. O3 Splash, especially from Boat there. The fact that on the Sojourn you can get a couple of these like mid-fight picks that are really impactful, like taking down Vega, meaning that there isn't that Lucio available, and finally Saints are going to start switching things up a little bit, going over to a more standard, or standard composition that we call on this map. But for what they've gotten off of that first composition, I mean, 3.5 minutes still in their bank, they're going to get another ultimate rotation, and Lukewarm is down, so that means it's a 4v5.
Yep. You can see Infected about to get blown up, does just escape, has to force the Primal, though doesn't feel comfortable threading that needle any longer as Deco picked up on the opposing side. Mikey aggressing forward, getting even closer to that Primal Rage as well so they can utilize it, juggling away. They don't even need it, though. Neutral and Deco have been brought back to spawn, finally getting back online here to give some coverage with those health packs and going to have the rally. O3 Splash in a very difficult position with 2 meters to go. Is it going to be enough to give protection to the remaining few of O3 so that they can combat back against this? Mikey hit by the bio and slept, but still has a massive health pool from the Primal Rage that was active, so they can just force back the remaining few. The adjustment now for King onto the Sombra, with Vision getting 2 again here, gives them so much opportunity to complete this with a significant amount of time, but they can't quite get the remaining. And now it's Lukewarm eliminated. You see this focus onto neutral, and that is a round completion with 2:31 on the clock.
Yeah, and this is what I talked about a little bit with kind of the difference between like having Falson and having Mikey in when they can play the Winston comp. That just felt like fighter pilot-esque for a lot of that map, right? Where it's just Saints as a 5-man just having these very aggressive dives, and even though they're trading sometimes like 2 for 2, 3 for 2, things like that, the fact that they're creating that much space and forcing out ultimates from O3 Splash really hinders O3 Splash's ability to like weather the storm a lot of the time. And I think that was something that O3 Splash wasn't necessarily ready for, this kind of intense aggression that coming out from this Saints roster, because it's not something that we see like too often. That composition, you know, Kiriko Lucio hasn't really been meta for a very long time. It's fallen off significantly with the rise of Brig, with the rise of Ana, and I think this was a great decision from Saints again to kind of just like play to their strengths, and it caught O3 Splash off guard 100%. Now it's a little bit more difficult because it's harder to play those style of compositions on the defensive end, but still, I mean, they were able to cap and win those last couple of fights with this composition. So for Saints, I mean, we said it was going to take a little bit of time for them to be able to figure out this like new dynamic in their roster, and at least so far on their attack, looked pretty decent.
Yeah, and there's so much anchoring on Vision and Lukewarm because they've had some really, really impactful change-ups in the way that these fights are going, finding those eliminations onto the supports and the synergy between both Infected and Mikey. So as we take the swap of sides, I'm looking to see how O3 Splash are going to combat against it and how Saints defensively are able to hold and potentially dwindle a massive time bank off this.
Oh, and actually, interestingly enough, we're going to be seeing Deco on the Mercy here, giving the pocket over to Boat. So, that is going to be something that's a little bit of an interesting dynamic. Yes, you're losing the Brig and the ability to kind of have some utility, but also it lets Boat have a lot of ability to kill those backline members and assassinate really aggressively. As Vision is taken down by neutral, that's not a good way to start this out on the defensive end for Saints.
And you can see Infected is trying to zone back both supports up top in that choke point to find value elsewhere since they are having to more so rely on each other. Nice sleep though, denying Infected pushing forward with Saints looking to regroup defensively. It's already going to be 2, almost 3 ticks because O3 Splash has really dominated and controlled this space despite the high ground being obtained from Saints. Nice sticky bombs, focusing beam, beautiful healing from the supports to keep King alive. And look at how much chase is happening with Boat wanting to secure that elimination, and that damage boost from the Mercy is really starting to come to the forefront of this, allowing them to have 5 minutes and 20 seconds going into the streets phase.
Yeah, I mean, it's just too overwhelming because if those fights are like being elongated as much as they were in that scenario, like it's always going to favor the team with that Mercy pocket because Boat is just going to be able to continuously farm, and there isn't going to really be a way for the Saints to stop them because King, you know, to his credit, can't really go and duel with an Echo like that because he'll just instantly lose because of that pocket. So this makes it very difficult for Saints to be able to hold the line as we're going to be seeing Vision actually moving over to the Sombra, just trying to offer a little bit more utility.
Boat instantly goes onto the duplicate of the Sombra, pushing forward the damage boost once again, continuing to just deal the damage. The EMP is going to come in with the translocate just around the corner. There's no significant follow-up initially. It's really only Vision who's locked down and brought to the spawn, and now this is again more space obtainable for O3.
We'll see how O3 Splash want to play this next fight. There is going to be that nano boost available, sustainability as well from Infected with that Primal Rage, and look at the aggressive positioning of O3 Splash right here. Lukewarm gets taken down low, cannot afford to die.
Nice recall. Infected slept
Good
once
sleep
again with the nano. Beautiful play. Saints now defensively are finally able to dismantle Deco and Boat on this duo high ground play, and will be able to stop this as we saw before on the reverse side.
Yeah, and this is also one of the scariest parts, I think, to be stopped because you don't have really a semblance of a respawn advantage at this point if you are O3 Splash, and you have to kind of make this long walk all the way to where the card is at this point. And it's going to be even scarier because Vision switching over to that Sombra now has been able to accrue that EMP, and EMP is going to do wonders here, especially with O3 Splash attacking into them. And even if Infected uses this Primal Rage, EMP is going to chew through a lot of that health.
You can see Mikey's just trying to get rid of Lukewarm, forcing the recall out, so Lukewarm has to play a little bit more defensively. Nice reposition back onto the supports. The shield is there to deny any incoming damage for the moment, but the Bionade makes it much more critical for Mikey, who does pop the Primal in time. Does not get focused down. Sleep Dart only lasts for a brief second since the insistent tri-shot damage comes in from both. But Mikey hanging on by a thread as Lukewarm and Deco work their wonders to eliminate 2 on the defense.
Yeah, with Tree going down, there's no way that Saints can hold on to this because they just completely lack the healing. Vega is not enough to be able to sustain Mikey going down that low, and that's going to be a point cap here for O3 Splash, who starting to really step it up here on this offensive end. 4 minutes in their bank, being able to move forward here into third, and they might end up eclipsing the amount of time that Saints had if they're continuing able to roll this well.
Nice shots into Vision on the back with a Sombra. Stick comes in. Mikey in the barrier. Solo. Nano comes in quickly from Tree, but as they do so, both sweeps in to get a nice elimination. Now, once again, we find all of the weight resting on Vega's shoulders to try and survive through this. Even with the respawn advantage, O3 Splash is making lightning fast work of this.
Yeah, I mean, they're just completely overwhelming them, and I wonder if Saints are going to make any swaps going into this last defense here, because it feels like the DPS duo just currently isn't working out. Boat has just been left really on their own to be able to do whatever he wants in the air. Vision getting close towards that EMP. They need to be able to keep Vision alive long enough to get that up.
Not quite ready for that drop down from Infected. They round the outer door, but there is a try shot and the sticky bump coming in onto Mikey. Boat boosted, continuing to play forward, seeing what they can get. Nice Bionade onto 3. That's huge from Tree. Lukewarm eliminated, and it's only going to be a 5 versus 4, but Fico makes it an even score. 4 for 4, dropping in. Bo goes for the shots, but is covered by Vega. Again, the synergy between Tree and Vega coming out big right now to keep Saints alive on the defense and deny 0-3 from completion.
Yeah, I mean, Saints need to take a deep breath right now, and 0-3 Splash are not going to be able to get more time than Saints did, so for 0-3 Splash, I mean, they're going to get at least one more ult rotation with how much time they have left here, but Saints did a really good job on the defense, specifically Tree had to, hit that anti, then hit that sleep, really big in terms of being able to stall, but Boat is coming up on a duplicate, which he's been very scary with them so far, and I mean, a little bit worried about how Mikey's going to navigate these fights, as there's a nice hack. Vision, I mean, doesn't really get a lot out of it, right? He has to translocate almost immediately, so it doesn't even farm any charge.
Yeah, because Lukewarm was right there to give the assistance as the hack comes in, so it's not a safe play to play forward like that. So nullifying that completely gives more opportunity now for Bo to get to this duplicate. Going onto the Ana, they have a sufficient amount. Oh, the stick doesn't land. It just clips the corner. So it is not a guaranteed elimination onto Tree, which would have been vital because the nano boost is available. Now, an attempted sleep. It goes wide. The juggle into the corner. Can't quite keep him away from the spawn, so they actually recover into this with a focusing beam now onto Mikey, eliminating that tank on the defense. Final few meters to go. They're closing it in, then coming for the contest. Vision, along with King, are there to buy time, the respawn advantage, in addition to Vega's rally. Everything lines up, and once again, Saints are able to hold the line. Oh no! No, they got off it. King was not close enough to keep it contested.
Bad. Oh, put up the sign, Jay. Put up the sign. Oh, that's a bad one. Yo. That's a really bad one.
Oh, no.
They were going to get that defense, too. Yeah. They actually had a very good chance of being able to defend with, I think it was like a minute and 30 seconds left. They won that fight completely. That's an absolute Charles the Ninth. That was brutal.
Now, see, if we don't get a map 5, we've already hit our quota today, Kenobi.
C9. That was really really unfortunate.
Yeah, and you could see it because King was right there on the edge, but just ever so slightly steps too far. Oh, doesn't get there in time. It was so close. Oh, they even. Oh, that's sad.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Can I join the lobby just to type that in there? I'm sorry. That's so bad. I'm so mean.
That's so brutal. They had that. That was Saints' fight.
Yeah,
completely.
It really was.
It was literally just Boat floating to the point and getting that last little bit of meterage.
Just
that
slow descent.
Slow float down to get that ending pick, or ending push over the line. But 0-3 Splash, I mean, they're lucky that they get another chance at this, and the way that the first offense went, they definitely have a potential to be able to just overwhelm completely Saints, especially with the bring back in the Mercy now. I wonder how Saints are going to be able to play against this, because again, just the amount of upfront damage that you bring with Boat here, King is not going to be able to deal with this, and Mikey has to play so safely, because if he steps out of line once, he will get melted by this damage boost.
And you can just see how Saints are really playing cautiously. The high ground, the shield denies the incoming fire. Vision barely gets topped up. Stellar job again from the support line from Saints, recovering as the focusing beam doesn't actually hit pay dirt here. The health value was too high and the distance was too far. As Boat gets overwhelmed and is shut down, King and Vision play the patient game and then find the window of opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that was so perfectly played compared to what they did in that last one, right? Where last time they tried to have King be very aggressive and duel out, but this time they basically just say, okay, we're gonna play patient. As soon as the focusing beam is down, that's our moment to go in. Mikey and King do a great job on that dive, and now with just 30 seconds left, 0-3 Splash is the last chance that they're going to have King and Vision so close towards their DPS ultimates. Those are gonna be big.
We'll see how Boat is able to defend on the high ground again. Very quickly addressed for the moment. Bionade lands from neutral in the back. Mikey just gonna wait it out, shrug it off. As the TVT occurs up top, Vision forcing out the recall has the advantage just ever so slightly as Lukewarm gets picked up by Vega. A second pick from up top. Boat not ready for it. The pulse bomb sticks mid-air! Oh my goodness, that was just salt in the wound. Vision putting on a show here right at the end as a team kill comes through. Swap of sides, and now 0-3 Splash is getting a little rattled.
Dude, that was the sickest layup pulse bomb I've ever seen right there from Vision. Just throwing it up into the cup, hitting that Mercy in the air. And a nice defense. Again, I love the adaptation where it's kind of like Saints know exactly what's going to be happening with O3 Splash. They're going to bring out the Mercy, so they just play patient, really wait for Boat to be potentially a little bit too over-aggressive, which is exactly what happens, and then they're able to win this one. And
layup?
So nice. Oh, so good right there.
So good. I think that one you and I had that once happen where it was a triple dash on Watch Point Gibraltar, I think in Collegiate. It was like the other time where we got a clean shot like that. God, that was years ago, I think. That's instantly what I remember from forever ago. Let's not talk about that. As we're gonna head into this next one, just makes me feel like I'm a lot older. This is drawable though. O3 Splash.
Okay, don't put it out there. Okay, don't put it out there. Like our production people can say it in chat, in like our production chat, but like if we put it out into the ether, it'll happen.
I didn't say anything.
We literally have we have audio evidence.
No.
Okay, well.
2 minutes and 31 seconds here. Saints were able to make quick work as well going into this with this Reaper play previously, and I think they are more than capable of doing so again, only needing to yield 1 tick out of 3. As there's an early hack already onto King!
That's pretty not great that happens as easily as that did, but I think that the thing about this composition from Saints is that O3 Splash, they don't have a lot of time to work with on the defensive end, and at least Saints are going to get at least 1 ultimate rotation with this. So Saints can play this a little bit slowly if they'd like here. They just need to make sure that what happened with Boat earlier just doesn't happen again, right? They can't just get 1 clipped in the neutral right here because that's going to take even more time away. They want to be aggressive.
Diving quickly onto it. Saints are getting routed very quickly, but they actually managed to weather the onslaught that came from O3 Splash in this chase. Saints play this beautifully, and my utterance of drawable shall not come to fruition as they are able to take this with only 1 remaining, the translocate off the point, and we will see Saints be able to take this, making it a 1-to-1 map score.
I thought you said you didn't say anything, so which one is it?
See, now I'm gonna say it because it didn't happen, so I can come clean.
You're gaslighting me. That's
I am not.
Okay.
I am only lighting the gas. I am not gaslighting.
I see. But I think full credit to Saints here for coming in on this Numbani pick. We talked about it a little bit before. Like the map is how this team would look a little bit different with Mikey in the lineup, obviously bringing that Winston to the table. But I think it was really just that decision making from Saints to be able to play more to their strengths, especially on the offensive end, right? Bringing out that composition that's not really something that we've seen a lot of, and the coordination still felt like it was there between the entirety of the team, right? That was something that I was kind of wondering how that would act with the change in dynamic with the team, but the coordination still seems to be like really on point with that team, and that's something that you can expect from a team who's had kind of this amount of time together, who's played together for so long. So even if you're switching something like Tree going over to that support role, you still have that ability as a unit to move forward. And then I think that I think they probably could have, honestly, without the C9, would have defended at the very end there. So elongated a little bit to get people some skins, but we're at 1-to-1 right now. And I think that going forward, I wonder, do we continue to see Mikey? Is there going to be a map where we have to see maybe False come back in? And how's that going to look? Because I think now that with O3 Splash being able to pick the map, they could just go somewhere where this composition really isn't going to be able to thrive at all. Yeah,
and we'll see after we head to a short break. So don't go anywhere because we'll be back in just a moment, my friends.
You like solving problems. Problems like how to stop that tracer from deleting your backline. I know just what you're thinking. Go bring a turret. But y'all can't solve all your problems by simply bringing an extra friend to the battlefield. For that, you need the Contenders Torbjorn skin. Solve your problems by connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. After that, watching Overwatch Contenders Summer Series will contribute to your drops progress, letting you claim your Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin. Even your turret gets an upgrade. Warning, the Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin does not come with extra or upgraded turrets. Build instructions will not be provided. By picking Torbjorn, you waive a claim towards any destroyed turrets. No refunds, no exchanges, and no take-backsies.
Welcome back, my friends. We've already checked off our list today for having a C9, and we're still in a prime position for us to have a map 5. So we might be able to actually generate both for you watching out there today, getting even more time for skins. You know, we mentioned it earlier, gave a little bit extra 3-4 minutes because of that take, swapping sides, but now we're going to be going into another map, Kenobi, and it's going to be Watchpoint Gibraltar, what we've been seeing a lot more recently, and just been getting a really wide variety of things that have come to fruition here, even not only just within Contenders, but the realm of Overwatch League as well.
Yeah, and this is a map that I actually really enjoy kind of how this map plays out, especially with, like, I mean, I'm good with any map that, like, really lets me see Winston more so than anything else. I know there's a lot of, like, controversy about how much Winston there is, but, like, I still like Winston. I like dive compositions in general. And this is another map where it's like, it's very much a Winston style of map because high ground is so important, right? To be able to control that high ground, whether it's on first, on second as well, being able to control the ship. Very, very important. This is a map though that we will see probably like some long range hit scan. I think that like Ash is something that we see a lot here. Echo still probably could see some play. We've seen people pilot it. It is like you have to play a little bit more safely with it. But there's also that possibility that it just becomes a tracer and then like a long range hit scan style of composition. And as always, like double flanker could still just always work. So I think this will be interesting to see kind of how both these teams opt into a map like this, because of the fact that you do have that ability to play a lot of variations of things. But I think that with Vision in the lineup, I feel like I want to see hit skin. I want to see long range.
See,
I want to see Ash or like Widowmaker, stuff like that.
Hanzo. We've been seeing a lot of Hanzo, especially when it comes to that second portion inside the docking bay. I mean, it's pretty crazy as a whole, and you know, Vision we know can just unleash on that hero in and of itself. So, but there is a variety, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to come out for this map specifically. And O3 Splash again, getting a little bit more of a lucky opportunity when it came to Numbani, since it was looking more so that Saints could have easily closed that out with that, you know, that slight little mishap. But we'll disregard that because this is a new map, and Gibraltar does have so much, you know, opportunity, especially when we talk about the initial point when it comes to a lot of this high ground. There's so much denial that you get onto the Winston with the Brigitte, with the, you know, variety of sleeps that can come through. There's a lot of value defending on that initial point. If you can run the clock quite a bit there, it really helps you in the long run going into that docking bay section.
Yeah, I mean, this is a map that we usually don't see completed that much. We saw.
We got third point. We got third point.
Third point Gibraltar. Mm-hmm. I think we did see a completion as well at one point, but I think that this is a map where it's like it usually comes down to those first 2 points, and then like if you can get like second point. Specifically with the spaceship is like where attacks go to die, right? Like if you can get stuck there so easily, and just like that, just the amount of time it takes to get back into that point, so difficult, right? And being able to just like, it's a long walk of shame once you lose fights to get back there. You don't have any semblance of a respawn advantage, so it's very difficult to maneuver out of those. But it's a little bit easier now with the changes to this map that we had, which, by the way, really do love kind of the rework that they did to this map because of the fact that like it was so even more difficult.
Yeah.
You know, back when it was like the old Gibraltar, but now like in this Gibraltar, it's like a little bit easier to kind of make your way into second point through those doors because you have those other options.
And we will have once again Saints on the attack first, while we do have O3 Splash on the defense. I'm looking for, please do it. I know, King, make me happy. As we're probably not going to see it, but defensively, going back to the tried and true, lukewarm on this Hanzo, so we're keeping a watchful eye on the type of pick potential that can come through and seeing if those one-shot, one-hit potentials can land for them.
And I mean, if Saints are going to come out on this composition, that just tells me that it's aggressive.
Yeah.
We're going aggro here. Like, Deco and Neutral have to play so carefully, because if you get dove on by 4 members like this, you need to come correct and be able to keep yourselves alive, or else they will just run through you, especially with King on that Genji, being able to get a lot of those dash resets. Vision here as well, going in onto that Reaper. So like, it's no long range hit scan whatsoever from Saints. They're just playing, again, towards their comfort. They're going to make Infected's life miserable, because if Infected ever wants to come onto this cart, Vision is just here with the Reaper, continuously pumping in damage, and Infected can't get that.
Yeah, they will eviscerate Infected. Needs to get out, but the healers are keeping him topped up quite well. Stellar job defensively from O3 Splash as this payload continues to move forward. It's really only Infected being the singular member to drop down to keep it contested, because both, the second that they come in, look at how easily they're forced back out of it.
And Boat has to also respect Tree on the Kiriko, because if Boat gets hit once by like a random kunai or something like that, it's very easy for King to just hit that dash reset and go in. And now this rotation from Saints, they're going to go behind and see if they can execute a dive onto the high ground.
Yep, get the reposition. Nice responsiveness though from O3 Splash. They draw back ever so slightly. Support's still covered for the moment. Barrier active to try and deny and get those shots necessary as King comes in, cleaning up. And this is where there's some recovery tactics from O3 Splash defensively and actually turn a little bit around, but there's still contention onto this cart.
Oh, Bo's actually here. Oh my god, King is just slicing and dicing right now on this Genji. We saw it last week. King on this Genji is nothing to be trifled with, but with all those picks that went back and forth, it is going to have to be a little bit of a retreat here for Saints. King getting jumped on by that Winston, but Dragon Blade is available for King here.
You can see Infected being just chunked as Vision drops in. Can't quite escape though for the moment. Doesn't have the defensive necessary, so Infected able to deny them from continuing to dominate on that front line. And O3 Splash able to hold on for the moment, but the Blade is active. The rally to counteract it, but the slash damage is just far too superior and will be able to eliminate the support. Just under 3 meters to go, and Saints are now looking to rally back into this quickly.
These picks are going back and forth, but Lukewarm is finally able to take down King. And I mean, the thing about the Saints composition is like they need to win these fights very convincingly, right? And one of the things that like the Winston's really good at, and Infected has been really good at throughout the entirety of this series, is like those counter dives where if Saints are going to be going that aggressive into the backline, Infected has done a really good job of just counter diving and making sure that at least they're trading, you know, 1 for 1, 2 for 2, things like that. And now Saints again going for an aggressive dive onto that high ground with the Kitsune Rush.
Deco cannot survive the swiftness that is Saints. We've got a big pulse bomb though onto both supports, making this viable for O3 Splash to hold on to. The Primal Rage from Infected cycling back to the point, but needs to be very cognizant of where Vision is, who has the Death Blossom. It is
0.9.
Oh my goodness, they come back onto it to contest it. They're still holding on, but Saints are being able to rally back into this because they are able to have such swift, mobile heroes to give that reinforcement. Boat goes down. They finally reach this checkpoint with 3 minutes and 15 to go.
That was so close. I felt like when Boat hit that pulse bomb, right, that was the moment where potentially they could have brought that one back, especially on both supports like this, but Saints were able to survive just a little bit long, especially with the 2 ultimates, specifically from Vision and Mikey being able to zone the rest of them off the cart, create that time for Tree and Vega to get back onto the point, and now Saints will switch it up a little bit, go over to the more standard support line, but also bring Vision here on this long-range hit game like I was talking about, bringing in the Ashe.
And I'm liking to see it as we enter into this next phase. Infected still playing those catwalks very, very religiously to make sure that they are not going to get overwhelmed and wait for that healing to come in from neutral from a distance. King keeping tabs, at least for now. Bionade lands. Vega needs to be careful. Boat's also making some quick work of those health values down below, but Vision gets the counter. The Pulse Bomb actually tossed in just before they're eliminated, so O3 Splash is able to turn this around since the damage has been nullified.
And this is where it becomes a little bit scary for Saints, especially because now you have Neutral who just has control of high ground. And if there's one thing we know about Neutral's Ana is that if Neutral is left on high ground alone like this, anti-nades are going to be so impactful. And there you saw one hits directly onto Vega. Vega has to get out of dodge because they're anti. That means he's not able to get there and heal Tree. So Tree ends up going down. It just completely falls apart for Saints on that offense. There's a great nano and another anti, but it's not followed up on.
Yeah, there's so much damage from Infected with that nano boost in a tight room. Makes it so easy for O3 Splash to completely eradicate them.
This is, again, it's going to be a very scary position for Saints to be able to move through this one, or try to be able to move through this one, as Mikey, just barely able to survive. And that's actually going to give Tree that nano. That's why doesn't get any value there.
No, I thought Infected was a little bit lower in health value, but gets topped up quickly from both. So the completely just denies the pulse bomb.
I was like, why is the health bar that high? It didn't feel like it should have been.
Oh my goodness, Tree though, with the assist. on the alley-oop as you've got Mikey diving even further forward with a melee attack onto Lukewarm and juggling for days onto neutral. That buys them some great space and opens this up for positional advantage.
Mikey is so good at Winston, bro. Like, people are gonna be like, oh man, it was a nano. Like, oh, I could have done that. But like, the fact that he was able to one-shot deco by him, like, on that initial jump, then get the secondary jump onto Lukewarm, get that one shot as well, and then juggle neutral to Kingdom Come all the way back to spawn. Like, that was just really, really great Winston mechanics coming in from Mikey. And now Saints have a little bit of room to work with, but not a lot of time, only 30 seconds.
Yeah, they have definitely some room, but the time is not in their favor. It's King down below, harassing boat, a couple of dashes to keep their distance. Nice reposition up top. Rally is active. Shield blocking the incoming fire, but Tree gets the pickup onto Lukewarm, which is absolutely vital. The Dragon Strike not available to divide and conquer. Mikey gets another round of 2 on the supports. And this, for 30 seconds remaining, they use every second to their maximum potential.
Yeah, now, I mean, you're probably just wiping your sweat off for Brow a little bit. Wait, the sleep happened.
Oh, no!
Oh, you can, okay. No. I was wondering, I was like, is there a way that Lukewarm ends up going down there? But no, make sure they TP out of that one, as Saints do get another minute and 30 seconds on their bank to move forward here. I just love it when Winstons kind of just sit in front of each other and just zap each other, and it's just like, all right, we're here.
I'm tickling you and you're tickling me. Yeah, let's have fun. Ticklefy. As you see, Infected dive up top now with, oh my goodness, Bionade lands onto 2 from neutral. That's what we like to see from neutral. Those Bionades hitting pay dirt with now only 50 seconds to go for Saints.
Just neutral things there. And I mean, for O3 Splash, I like that they bring finally Lukewarm onto this Ashe. You know, having a way to combat a little bit with Vision Sightline also brings some utility alongside with the Dynamite. I think this is a really great decision. But Saints coming back in, I mean, they're close to Nano. Primal Rage is also available from Mikey relatively soon. And this is the last chance that this team is going to have here on this offense. And with Mikey with the Primal Rages so far, you're going to be looking at neutral, potentially find a way to hit a sleep and negate the value that's going to be coming from it.
King lurking in the distance, does get topped up. Nice recovery from the support line again. Only 2, soon to be 3 ultimates available. Nano onto Mikey, that'll guarantee the generation for the Primal Rage. Can't quite eliminate Deco just yet, as a nice whip shot gives him space, hides behind the box. Primal Rage active, looks for the juggle, can't quite get close enough to bring them to the opposing side, but locks them into the room, and the pulse bomb finds so much value. They were so worried about getting juggled into the corner. The pulse bomb comes in from a distance and lands. Now with the overtime active, the payload just meters away. Infected onto the point, has the Primal Rage to knock them back. King getting juggled around, same thing with Vega. There has the spawn potential though from O3 to get back into this. Infected needs to get topped back up, cycles back, they're pushing onto the point. Overtime still continuing to commence with 5 meters to go. Vega harassed, eliminated, Infected back on the point. Bob gives that extra member for not only contention, but the extra damage boost with Infected now coming in tenfold. Bob gets the side pickup as well. They actually deny Saints from reaching completion. What a beautiful recovery here from O3.
Yeah, I thought Saints had that, especially with Mikey getting that Primal Rage, juggling 4 people into that corridor for that Pulse Bomb from King to get to. If that had gotten more, I think there was definitely a way that Saints are able to complete that, but with Infected being able to stay alive and just create so much time with that Primal Rage, just stay alive, stay on cart, get the rest of the members out who had ultimates to be able to sustain through and continue to stall. Really, really well played from O3 Splash's tank there, and it's good to see because Infected is someone who, like, we remember coming in, you know, back on Trick Room, was very much this Hammond player. The Winston seems to have been something that Infected has worked on and really gotten a lot better at recently. And when we get someone like Mikey who's playing as well as he is, it's really, really great to see.
Yeah, big props. The depth of understanding is for sure elevated since we've seen them on that role earlier. That neutral Bionade too, just coming in every once in a while, making sure that it really causes a problem. And also the fact that they get Bob at the end there to keep cart contested gives them so much more wiggle room to start changing where their focus is instead of just the payload. It's like that insurance policy of saying, all right, we don't have to worry about this for right now. Let's go find our target.
And I think the thing about, you know, creating that stall specifically is, like, the time that it created, right? That was the big thing, right? It's because they don't get back into that if there isn't that time created by Infected to not only stall the cart, but get everyone those ultimates, right? Because they had such an elongated fight there, because there was a very real possibility that they just end that with like 90%, 95% on their ultimates, and they, you know, have to reset and get full capped here. But as Saints go on the defensive end here, sticking with Vision on this Ashe. Lukewarm, though, on the Hanzo. So one of the things in the differences is that Hanzo does have that one-shot potential, but doesn't have the same amount of utility as the Ashe does in that AoE. So it's going to be something that Vision has a little bit over Lukewarm, but Lukewarm could just instantly, with one shot, completely change a fight. That was a fantastic ante from Tree at the start of that, directly onto Deco, comboed along with that dive from Mikey. Mikey's also going to be able to get out of this, so a great start for Saints here on this defensive end.
And now you can see the stragglers underneath. Boat at this point just accepts their fate, has to go back to the drawing board. Saints still feeling really good as they've already got a minute off the clock.
And I think one of the things about the Hanzo as well, it's very much a feast or famine type hero, where it's like you need to hit, like if you're not hitting shots, you're not really like playing the hero to the maximum potential, right? Lukewarm is also being very heavily focused down a lot of the times. I'm looking at Lukewarm, health bar is always below 50% every time they're peaking, so Saints are doing a great job of holding these sightlines away from them.
Yeah, each time I've gasped quite a bit to be surprised at how low the health value is, so Lukewarm really being nullified for the moment. King down below 5 HP, gets the recall out in time, and you can just see Boat fleeing for their life down underneath to get that health pack near the car wash. Vision in the defensive position over towards the server room, sticking close to the supports. Boat once again hyper harassed, and again always having to play defensively. King is consistently getting the better end of this, but Lukewarm finally hits a target and not forced away. And with Tree eliminated, Vega again has so much on their shoulders to have to work with. Mikey really has no ability to get topped up here.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way. I think there's going to be a potential for a recontest if they're able to keep Mikey alive, which they should be able to do with Tree respawning soon. King is alive, but I go down here in that TVT, especially with the Winston kind of trying to collapse onto them. But actually, King is able to live long enough, and now they're back on the point.
Neutral shuts down King. There's a follow-up onto Tree the second they show their face. The Nano did come out here for Mikey, who does generate the Primal Rage, but as we continue to be on Lukewarm's POV, it is free-firing the entire time, just landing these shots onto the big man as they continue to juggle about. Boat secures the support. Infected comes in again, and this will be 0-3 splashing. I mean, we just seeing Lukewarm all day.
Aim trainer POV. It's just aim trainer POV. It's like Lukewarm. Everyone else was playing playing Overwatch there. Lukewarm's just playing a mini game aim trainer right there. Like that, Lukewarm's just on the high ground, just being like, okay, I just have to sit here, hit a couple of shots, and I'll be totally fine. And the scary thing about that is Saints committed to win that fight and committed quite a bit to it. They had to use the Primal Rage, had to use the Nano and the Rally, so they're a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of that macro. But with King being able to hit that one clip onto neutral, that might be a way for the Saints team to stop the bleeding. It looks like they might.
Ooh, reposition quickly with the coach gun so they can get into that position for a nice takedown assistance with Vega onto Lukewarm and stem the bleeding here at this 4-door entry point, which again is so challenging to work through when you have the high ground advantage.
And it's also hard when you have something like Ashe on the other side, where Ashe can just throw dynamite into that doorway and just make your life completely miserable. Okay, Boat's just instantly taken out. Goodbye. I think one of the things that we've seen a lot throughout this defense from Saints so far is that King feels like running away with this TVT battle a lot of the time. Like, Boat is being hounded down by this Tracer play coming out from King.
And it's been a significant shift going into Watchpoint Gibraltar. It was a little bit more even, I would say, in the 2 previous maps, but this one specifically, Boat is always on the back foot. Now with the Pulse Bomb available still, not yet needing to contribute it into this fight just yet, as the payload sticked around by both Infected and Boat. And again, just getting the better end of this. Boat has to play so defensively, and you can see Mikey with the Nano. Even though they're going to get slept, they still get value taking out Deco.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that I think when you have King like winning this Tracer battle so effectively, it gives so much room for Mikey to make these counter dives, because the thing about the Tracer here is that the Tracer would love to just kind of juggle around the cart and just be able to play it that way, not really have to fight necessarily, but because the Tracer isn't really winning the TVT, that forces Infected to be the one to get on the cart, and that just leaves Mikey to be like, great, I'll just dive your backline. There's nothing you can really do about that. So they're really benefiting off of King's Tracer wins right here.
Ooh, Boat! Once again low. but does get a very, very quick engagement onto King. And Infected with the juggle nicely eliminates Vision and rotates up the high ground to cause a lot of disruption to this support line. They have been completely surrounded, and an absolutely necessary win here for O3 Splash.
That's got to feel really good for Boat, too, because Boat has been bullied by King a lot of the time, but there comes in with a one clip, and this is a very, I think, scary position for Saints to be in. They got to be able to get someone to contest the Pulse Bomb whiff, so maybe there's a chance for Saints to get back on.
Yeah, it wasn't close enough. Vision have about just under 100 HP remaining as the Pulse Bomb lands. The Dragon Strike from Lukewarm getting rid of Tree, and Infected again collapsing onto Vision. They have really started to make some massive headway after that initial fight win, but now 50 seconds to go. Boat gets the shutdown onto Mikey, and now that they no longer have this Winston to really body and keep presence on the point, it's so much on the shoulders of Tree again here. More than we've seen Vega before, and they can't quite do it. 5 meters to go. O3 Splash themselves looking to enter this final stage, to enter completion. They just have to eliminate the last few, and Saints are actually doing a stellar job running the clock here.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying their best to stall. You can see even the swap to the Doomfist. I would expect Mikey to go back to the Winston eventually, but Saints, I mean, it feels like it's another time where they just use a lot of ultimates in like a fight that was very difficult to win. Like there was a chance maybe that you could bring it back when you're like losing that many members, for like using Rally, using Nano and things like that in a scenario where you're already down 2 members is very, very risky. Luckily, they take a lot of time off the clock, so there's only a minute and a half left, and essentially if Saints win one fight, they should be able to win this map. But look at Boat and Infected, they have ultimates, and Saints have nothing to work with here on this defense.
Yeah, it's really all down to King to potentially get something quick enough here to contribute into that firepower that O3 has. Boat underneath, though, looking for the pick. Beautiful stick onto Tree, but Tree very knowledgeable to jump off to not allow 2 others to get picked up with it. It could have been devastating. Still losing a support is not what you want to see, but the respawn advantage could be favorable to Saints, but they're being chipped away one by one, locking themselves into that room. There is still an opportunity to come back and contest this, though.
And I mean, the really way that the Saints can win this is they have to get Tree towards this Nano. This Nano needs to be able to get into this point, but here comes Infected with the Primal Rage.
Juggling them back. Nice whip shot to keep their distance, so they're going to juggle them into the point. Contesting now with Mikey. Nano Boost will generate that Primal Rage a lot more effectively. And if Vision also is able to get this Bob, that will see the same type of defensive hold, but Infected and Lukewarm gain both supports again. They are in a prime position to take it. They are able to force them back, and O3 Splash able to take this 3rd map and find themselves on a match point.
And I think O3 Splash played this really well, just from the perspective of being able to adapt towards like the back end. The second half, their offense was really good. I think bring in Lukewarm on that Hanzo. Yes, it took a little bit of time to like warm up, but that one-shot potential really started to hit Pater. And there was a lot of focus, I think, towards Tree in particular, right? There were a lot of times where Boat would go after Tree very aggressively in a lot of these scenarios, knowing that that is a potential weakness. And we even saw it in the fight before the last fight, where that Pulse Bomb, Tree was kind of just like on the bridge waiting patiently for the rest of his team, and Boat comes in with a really nice Pulse Bomb, completely negates a lot of the value the Ana would have had, and O3 Splash are able to take another win here, taking us to a map 4. Just the Pulse Bomb I was talking about. Good heads up play, you were right for him to jump down, but
still
overall, I think this was a really, great performance from O3 Splash in terms of being able to find kind of the target to dive on and dissect, and they did a great job doing that.
Well, and the big part of it too is the resilience that Boat had throughout that map, because Boat was so denied and stifled. A majority of the introduction of that, and especially moving into the next phase outside of that docking bay. Once they're able to kind of work their way through that, they just bypass Vision, who almost gets that elimination, to then start snowballing. Boat gets this momentum back in. They're feeling very confident. They get more of these different angles that they can play, all leading up to that Pulse Bomb. Everything just starts to really work in their favor, and that's what you absolutely needed for O3 Splash as we are preparing to go into our next and potentially final map here for O3 to be able to shut this down. But Saints not going to go quietly, as we are, I believe, potentially going into Coliseum, still waiting on confirmation of that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is where we go due to the way that Saints have been playing and with the methodology of their composition.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what map it is, because if it is Coliseum, that tells me that False is going to be playing, and then that kind of changes the dynamic a little bit, because that's just probably going to be a Ramatra more so than anything. Winston is, I think, viable on a map like this, but it's kind of fallen out of favor, because Ramatra is so good in these enclosed areas, and Annihilation is just way too strong. Vortex is also way too strong in those scenarios. So I think that that's something, if we do go to Coliseum, we have to be on the lookout for. But I think you were right about the Boat point, where Boat was getting heavily beaten by King a lot of the time. And I think Boat was just like, okay, kind of reset and said, I'm not just going to continuously take the Tracer duel anymore. I'm going to try and go for the back line. And I think that really helped a lot in terms of being able to push O3 Splash over the edge there, because it was just a lot of mental RAM for that backline to deal with. And with Boat being as good as Boat is, this is the person who beat Proper on the San Francisco shot, right? Run diffed Proper, things like that. There is still that ability for Boat to be able to carry like he did on that Tracer roll. King was doing his best to deny it, but once we kind of saw that shift from Boat focusing on the Tracer v Tracer, going over to the Tracer v the backline, it kind of changed the dynamic a little bit, and Saints just weren't, I think, able to keep up with that adaptation before it was too late.
And you commented specifically on that pivotal point, where it was not only the elimination that came through in the docking bay part of it, but it was the timing and the placement. Because once that payload started to turn that initial corner underneath the ship, and they did get those eliminations, they bypassed vision, the adjustment from infected afterwards to force back vision on the high ground. They really didn't have a solid way to get back into it. And we saw those desperate swaps consistently coming through, the Doomfist, the Sombra, everything to really get back and just keep it contested. But it's really not only just about the eliminations, but the timing and placement that was so pivotal as well, that everything just really started to work in O3's favor so that they can get that final stretch and take the advantage to where Boat has this time to really play a little more patiently, look for that support line, find the value necessary. And because things start to get a little bit more hectic with only just over a minute worth of time playing on that catwalk, Boat, so receptive, takes advantage of it and allows them that secure.
Looks like we do have our... Oh, we don't actually. So we're going to just waiting potentially, got to make some swaps.
They're baiting us a little bit.
They're baiting us a little bit. Go around a little bit. But I think that when we talk about... actually, we do have the map, it looks like. From the map sent. It is going to be Coliseum. So this is what I was thinking, where it was like, okay, it's going to be Coliseum. If it is Coliseum, that means to me that it is going to be False in the lineup, most likely, because I think that Mikey... the Winston doesn't really have that much value here, and False is kind of the Ramatra player, I think, on this team. So that makes sense to me that we're going to be seeing that more so than anything else, as we are going to be seeing, False is going to be in here, coming in for Mikey. So expect a lot of Ramatra, potentially V Ramatra here is what I would think. I'm not sure if Infected or Cowman's going to be in the lineup. We'll have to see. But this is going to look a little bit different. It's going to look a little bit probably more like Control rather than what we saw on the last
we do have confirmation. So it is going to be an adjustment as well from O3 Splash. You can see that we will have Cowman being substituted back into this as we enter into the map. So again, we'll see that it's almost like that, what is it? It's like the face-offs for UFC fighters, where it's like they go chest to chest. They're just like, yeah, like that's gonna be Cowman or the weigh-in. That's what it is. Yeah. Where it's like False and Cowman be just like, what? What's up? Come on, let's go. We going to Coliseum. We going to neutral. Who's gonna go? Come on.
It's funny that they both have Sigma as their
right
pictures, and we're not seeing that hero at all, unless it's Circuit Royale. Which, by the way, I can't believe that there was a 7-6 Circuit Royale earlier in Overwatch. That was insane.
Right.
I never thought I would see that ever again after 2CP went away, but here we are with O3 Splash versus Saints. And again, this is more of the Ramatra style of composition. I wonder what we'll see in terms of the support line. I think it's probably going to be most likely the Brig and the Ana, which to me is going to be interesting, because I think that Bo did a great job of affecting that back line. And I wonder, do we see an adjustment from either the DPS to kind of help a little bit with that backline matchup, or are we going to kind of put the faith in Tree into Vega, that kind of, now that they know what Boat is going to potentially do, they can deal with it a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think the investment for understanding how Boat's been playing might be a little bit more favoring, and just also at this point allowing Tree to kind of take up this support role and saying, no, let me feel confident in this. I think because Tree's always been an extremely confident player. Like every time we've either talked to them or see them play, like they are really strong in their decision making and saying, no, like if this is something I want to do, they're going to do it tenfold. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the avenue that we take as we are entering into this map and seeing who is going to be able to take this. And again, 0-3 Splash finding themselves on a match point where they could, because of the facts that we did receive, it looks like that Pip actually did not manage to win this. So if 0-3 Splash is able to take this, that will put them in that number 1 seed spot.
Yeah, there's a lot of, changes that could happen today. It's all very close and together in terms of like what we're seeing with a lot of these teams going forward in terms of it being so close in NA in particular. So there's a lot to play for still with like the seeding and even just like figuring out who's going to be getting into playoffs.
Kenobi, 10 seconds before the podcast airs. Welcome, friends, as we are here on Coliseum. As it's both Rich Rat and Kenobi to bring you the excitement that is, a random topic of the day.
Yeah, we're gonna get into favorite Pokemon territory. Who knows? But I mean, to be fair, we've seen teams that have kind of just like been like, screw it, we don't want to be like just sitting here for 2 minutes. We've seen players just be very aggressive on a map like this. So we'll see what these teams opt in for, as we're actually going to be seeing a little bit of difference in terms of the compositions. Neutral is going to be on the Baptiste, while Tree is sticking on the Ana. So the Baptiste offers a little bit more of that AoE healing, self-survivability with the Immortality Field, but Tree, really one good anti-nade here could be a difference maker.
And look at how swiftly Vision is able to get into the back line, going for the hack onto Cowman, forcing out Nemesis form already. Hacked a second time with the translocate. It's drawn a lot of attention away, so there wasn't shielding, which gave an opportunity for King and others to find some chip damage before resetting back into the neutral. Nice presence of mind, though, to get back afterwards, forcing that translocate. Cowman having the positional advantage right now, utilizing not only the bot, but the barricade as well. Bionade comes in quickly, though, with the hack, making this extremely difficult. Immortality Field is absolutely vital from neutral to keep him still going.
Yeah, we're playing back and forth here. The poke is continuing, and no one really has a great lead just yet. I mean, there is a slight lead right now for 0-3 Splash, but a nice hack again onto Cowman, who's going to start trying to be a little bit more aggressive and take the space.
Yeah, Vision almost doesn't get out of there, barely in time, maneuvering away. Cowman also utilizing this inner wall very, very well to block some of the sightlines from the back as Lukewarm gets the takedown onto Vision finally with how aggressive and a little bit more overzealous positioning that Vision was playing, and now it's a snowball effect that they're going to be able to overwhelm Saints. Nano boost onto False, though, gives a chance for retaliation, especially since they have the Annihilation available, and deny this space and look to hold in this archway.
Yeah, I think once the Matrix is on, they're going to try and go forward and use this Annihilation to take control at this point again. Lukewarm barely survives, but actually the Translocate is so good from Vision, but the help of Lucio keeps him alive.
Oh my goodness. This is what you call prime support play to keep Lukewarm going. Annihilation, the Annihilation. Cowman backpedals for the moment. There is a lot of incoming damage. The wall is active to deny those icicles in the back line with Vision committing the EMP. There is a lot tossed into this, and 0-3 is unable to weather it. It's really Deco who buys just enough time with the sound barrier, but a Bionade from Tree comes in onto 2. Is there enough to follow it up? They divide and conquer with King's Wall and the Blizzard.
Yeah, and they're able to keep the sound barrier as well throughout all of this. A nice sleep from Tree takes down Deco. And this is Saints. I mean, it was an onslaught at the very start of this, but Saints weathered the storm completely through a couple of really well-placed ults from their DPS, and 0-3 Splash losing Boat so early was a big deal because the Blizzard wasn't there, and now Saints potentially going to be able to take the lead here as Tree has another Nano available to them, and that's going to be great for False to move forward.
The biggest thing to be concerned about is how Boat and Lukewarm will respond with the ultimates available. Up top, Lukewarm being harassed for the moment, so they can't quite get free sightlines onto this as we've seen before. Ooh, False gets chunked pretty heavily there, but the support's responding effectively as the Dragon Strike goes down the choke point, dividing False away from the team. Round in the corner, Blizzard is active, can't quite get out, is so close. The wall beautifully placed from King to deny False from going down. The Nano is also contributed, but after so many resources are pumped into False, Vega is eliminated, and there's just far too much overflow onto False in general.
Yeah, I mean, just too much overwhelming damage, especially with the Blizzard. It was a great attempt from Saints, really trying their best. If False is able to just, like, get out of there, they were, like, a pixel away from being able to get out of that Blizzard, but just unfortunately not enough. And now, O3 Splash are going to start continuing this and accruing this lead that they have right now. Both of these Annihilations coming up, but the big thing to note is that Vision has this EMP relatively soon, and I think O3 Splash want to get out of dodge here. Nice anti-nade again! Neutral just dies before they can even do anything.
And this now forces Cowman to play more aggressively to see if they can take a victory in this fight. Cowman with a sliver of health procs the Annihilation. Is anyone there to keep him topped up? No! The supports can't do so. Deco was down and forced back. And you can just see this is a little bit discombobulated here from O3 Splash, but the same thing with Saints, and what they have left, their health values are so vitally low.
I mean, the bot is still being in the neutral right now, and it's going to be Saints being able to pick that one up. Deco there used a sound barrier, but it was actually countered completely by a wall from King, and False gets a little bit over-aggressive there, not knowing that there was potentially a Soldier on the other side. False gets railed, and that means that the advantage that Saints could have possibly had with their tank just completely evaporates, and now the bot is going to be reset here over back into that neutral positioning. And still Saints have these DPS ultimates to work with. That should be enough for them to win a fight. If they can hold one of them to be able to snowball, that's going to be how they can get back into the lead.
Slowly inching it back forward. EMP onto 3. Is there a follow-up? That's the biggest question. Both goes in for the Cryo Freeze to completely eliminate it, but the Blizzard shortly after from King makes it even more challenging for Cowman to survive. Lukewarm forced around the corner, and King is just going to be cycling back to try and take down their counterpart. Both has a Blizzard themselves, though. Are they going to look to commit it? The wall comes out. 2 are down. There's the consistent pickups, and they will hold on to it for the next fight.
Was a Matrix committed from neutral, but luckily luckily for O3 Splash, Tree used Nano to keep False alive and try and push the tempo a little bit in that fight, so that's something that you can count as a pretty decent trade for O3 Splash here. Sound Barrier, though, is going to be still available for Vega. It's going to be important to deal with this coming onslaught of DPS ultimates that Boat and Lukewarm are going to have. They need to have some sustainability through that.
So close to gaining the advantage. Disruptor shot gonna slow. Oh my goodness, there's a big pickup by Vision as well. Only 5 HP to Lukewarm's name, and they cannot escape. Boat, though, edging themselves forward. The wall to deny for now. Could look to try and toss the Blizzard the second that it drops, since they're close together. 2 are in sights. The Cryo Freeze is active, and False is able to get out of this one with the assistance from Vega with the movement speed in the back, so they can rotate back in now aggressively. Cowman does pop the Nemesis and Annihilation. Correction by False on the opposing side. There is 2 ultimates contributed into this by Saints. They need to win this fight so they can claim the advantage. King shuts down Cowman, and they now are able to hold on, and you've got 3 other ultimates soon to be online for Saints.
Yeah, I mean, this EMP is going to be available, but if they can hold on to that, this is easily going to be a snowball for Saints here, who, again, weather another storm, an onslaught of ultimates from O3 Splash. They're able to hold their ground, and Saints now are in a great position to be able to get this checkpoint, especially because O3 Splash is going to be coming into them, and EMP is going to be available for Vision, and also a Blizzard. This is going to be a very difficult fight for O3 Splash to pilot.
We'll see if they're able to weather everything that is online here. O3 Splash looking to still play this high ground angle so they can keep the bot contested until they can drop from on high, instantly take down False, who is separated from the team. No supports having decent sight lines to keep them topped up. Saints at this point are just looking to really draw the time down even further. They don't need to commit anything into this because they'll be able to get back as a full group. Nice Bionade to land onto 2, and again, this is just another 30 seconds reduced from their time bank.
It seemed like it was a little bit disjointed there because False was kind of just left in no man's land under the point and just instantly died. The healing really wasn't there. for him to be able to stay up, as Saints, I mean, still have those ultimates that we talked about a little bit earlier, but they've given a chance for O3 Splash to get back into this, especially with the ultimates that O3 Splash have now accrued. So Saints have to probably play a little bit high tempo, or else with where the bot is, they might get checkpointed.
Overclock active, goes for the shot, but what a sleep! Again, Tree denies that overclock from yielding maximum potential here. A 1-for-1 trade, but O3 Splash gets the better end of it once Lukewarm has been reawakened. Vega caught out in the open. Now down below though, 1:45 still remaining. Saints should have enough time though to get back to contest against this, especially because False is still here, but then two picks come through. Tree and Vision are down, and this is such an optimal place to be for O3 Splash. They just have to keep Calman alive. The supports look to continue to angle with an Immortality field, guaranteeing that they can top them back up.
An Immortality field. I mean, they're trying to keep Calman alive. Calman is getting taken down so low. Annihilation gets nothing because False gets eliminated.
Blown to bits the moment of activation. They even grab Vision as they attempt to go for the translocate. The distance now is going to be surpassed by O3 Splash since there's no one here to challenge it.
And they're also going to get the checkpoint here at the very end. They just have to push this one through. Lukewarm ends up going down to King, but it's not going to matter too much as the checkpoint will be secured by O3 Splash here, and they're just going to get out of dodge. They're like, great, we've got the checkpoint, we've gotten all we need. Now let's just reset to neutral. I love it when teams do this because they know. And actually, wait, King is just over.
Oh no.
King, oh, this is really bad. This is really bad. I mean, I'm trying to look at a way that this could be positive, but I'm not really seeing it. Like, this is going to be very, very scary because now you just go back to the neutral here if you're O3 Splash and you just take the bot back, and Saints are going to have to win like 3, maybe 4 fights to be able to get back into this one.
I would have almost liked to see Saints not push the bot even further back to the neutral if they knew King was that far to buy them a few extra seconds, but False gets instantaneously blown to bits. Nice headshot though from King, getting back into the mix onto Lukewarm. It denies them from having that one-shot potential with the railgun on the charge. 5 seconds to go. Saints now with False back online, needing to regroup quickly. Hopefully going to be able to get the taxi from Vega. Overtime procs. Blizzard is down. Saints need to be able to turn this around, and the tail end of it as a couple of decent shots come in, forcing back Vision. EMP is not going to be used in this because they can't quite land any sort of recovery. They're at 1 HP. The supports swivel. Nano onto King, diving forward. The Vortex slowing down. False up front as the EMP lands onto 4. 2 are down. Saints recover, but they still have a long way to go in this.
An incredibly long way, and I mean, it's going to be so difficult. They had to use everything in that fight just to be able to get the bot back in their control, and O3 Splash, actually, I mean, are they going to be able to get a contest here? It looks like they are going to be able to. Cowman's actually gone onto the Diva just to get someone to this point, but it's actually close.
Cowman's gonna get there, I think. Contention. Neutral now on to the Kiriko for the swift step if needed to dive in. Here comes the Blizzard. They're zoning him back, but it's actually not entirely onto the point, so they can play with underneath and not be locked down by it. King knocked up, 1 HP. There's the pickup, but Deco is down. Saints are still in this with the advantage, specifically having 2 supports to counteract against this. Both Vega and Tree doing everything imaginable to keep this going. Vision, though, has to force the translocate out. They're at the disadvantage. The flanking angle from Lukewarm. The overclock continuing to find shots. The assistance as well from neutral, supporting them into the back. The annihilation. There's no one to keep both alive. They're going to be cut down in these last dire moments. Vega with a Hail Mary sound barrier to give them another attempt to push it into the checkpoint. Cannot be any further gained. This is O3 Splash with a heads-up swap in their composition, coming back for a contention and able to deny Saints. It is only Vega rounding this inner corner. The Kitsune rush is generated. Neutral denies it, and this will be O3 Splash able to gain that #1 seed spot with a victory over Saints.
O3 Splash claim back their #1 seed with the win over an incredibly talented Saints team who had some changes in, but for O3 Splash, they're probably feeling good about themselves, especially after what happened last week against Wisp. Now they come back in, they 3-1 Saints, and they can start bring some momentum back into themselves, because that O3, I mean, it could have been very easily that team after that Wisp match had been like, okay, you know, maybe we get down on ourselves a little bit, but here they come back in with a great performance and they're able to take back control of first.
Ooh, this one was quite a fight, and it was so well done all around. It's just those last final instances where there was so much overcommittance into it. You needed Saints to be able to take that fight. And honestly, there was an instance of damage onto King in that final fight that I'm not quite sure exactly where it came from, but that changes everything here right out the gate. And this flanking angle from Lukewarm just was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I mean, it was very scrappy at the very end there, but the respawn advantage was just too much. Good also heads up play from O3 Splash, bringing Cowman on that Diva, because he got there literally at the perfect time, because if he doesn't get there, I think there's a potential that that's actually a checkpoint, and then O3 Splash, or Saints have a potential to win that. So good heads up play from O3 Splash, who, and a nail biter, I think, of that last map, are able to take it with a 3-1 victory. So O3 Splash gain control back of first, and they're going to be looking to continue that momentum in these next two matches that we have.
And before we talk about that next match which we're going to have, we do have an interview coming up, so don't go anywhere as we do get a few words from O3 Splash.
Oh, hello! Fancy meeting you here. It's so nice to see ya. Are you ready to survive the wastelands? Then you'll need to bring your shotgun, your axe, and of course, your knife for your sharp wit, if you get my drift. Hey, whoa. Hold on there. Don't forget to pick up your Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Yeah, gearing up is as easy as connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. And after that, watching the Overwatch Contenders Summer Series will contribute to your drop progression, letting you claim your own wasteland-ready Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Oh, that's right. It's time to rampage. Now, get out there and slay with the Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Okay, take care now. See you in chat.
We return. As promised, we will have an interview with a lovely individual from O3 Splash, and that's specifically Infected, my friend. I know that this must have been a really great win to be able to pick up after what we had in our previous broadcast, and you're starting to get back into the swing of things. How you feeling now taking this one over Saints?
You know, it feels really, really good to beat Saints, because they have, like, a lot of good players. And, like, to beat them, like, 3-1, that's our first 3-1 win, too. That feels really good.
Awesome. So kind of take me through about going into this week, because I want to hear from the perspective of you and your team, because you know you're 7-0. It's looking really good going into like the last game of last week, and then Wish come out and just 3-0. It's pretty. It feels like it's pretty convincing. How was it going into this week, kind of knowing that you have this very tough strength of schedule going forward? Like you have to play Saints, Good Boys, you have to play Pip, I think, also tomorrow. Was there like any like kind of just like person who was like keeping you guys' spirits up? Like what was the mental looking like for your team after that?
I think we were all mentally fine, and I think we learned a lot from that match. Because in that match, we all just like played very passive and scared. And I think taking that into account for these next matches, we're just trying to like not do that and just play a lot more aggressive. And I think in that match it showed too, because we were trying to play a lot more aggressive. So I'm happy like our adaptations are working out a lot better than they did in the Wisp match.
Yeah, the adaptations definitely did really show and reflect into it. I mean, there were a couple of moments, especially when we talk about, Numbani specifically, where Saints were really throttling, and then you yourselves had to start fighting back into it. When you were aggressed very heavily and starting to almost feel on the back foot, what was that shift of momentum and conversation like as well?
I don't think we cared that they like stomped us on attack that much, because like we just haven't played into that comp, and like I just know Mikey's just hard coming for his team 3, 2, 1 every fight, and they're always gonna get a kill. So we were just focused more on our attack, and that would have been our map pick too. So we were I should not have said that. Oh well, whatever.
It's okay. We'll remove it. We'll remove it from the VOD.
We'll edit in post. We'll edit in post.
But yeah, so talk to me a little bit about kind of that matchup, because it felt like it was kind of. I don't think there are a lot of teams that are playing that style, and it felt more of like a convenience thing for Saints because they have to have Tree on the support role. So you're saying that like kind of there wasn't really that much worry about like the fact that they were playing this like comp and they were kind of steamrolling. You felt like you were confident enough with the rest of your team that like, yeah, we'll just eventually beat it with our own style.
Yeah, exactly. Because like we all know that the Ana Brig Monkey version is just better than the Lucio Kiri. So if we just play how we normally do, then we would be fine.
Okay,
like
awesome.
On Jib, we were a lot better. Sorry, yeah.
No, you're good. So now with like again the last match that you've got today into tomorrow, are you still shooting for that #1 seed? You want to solidify that, right? You're back in the #1 for at least the time being. Are you gonna not drop a map or not drop any games?
It would look very good on the Wikipedia, but even if we lose these next 2 matches, I'm very like happy with like how we've overcome our issues. But I definitely want to get first. That'd be a good accomplishment.
Is there any team kind of that you or like O3 Splash kind of want to play against, either like going into playoffs, depending on like no matter what seed you are? Is there one team that you're kind of like eyeing somewhere in the bracket where it's like, oh, that's a team that I really need to keep my eyes on?
Well, I don't think there's a team we need to keep our eyes on, but I know personally I want to play Wisp again, just because I think we played very poorly, and I want to beat them again and show that like.
You want the salty run back?
Yeah, I want to show that it was a fluke.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's definitely I think a hard agree for probably a lot of either your players or just us as viewers being like, all right, let's see if we can cycle back. We'll just throw that one to the win. We'll overwrite it. It's like when you're in school and you just take the W with a draw, and then you take the class again and you get like an A, and you're just like, yeah, that never happened.
Yeah.
Well, we greatly appreciate your time to chit-chat with us. Looking forward to what the last few matches that you have for this round-robin stage, and, with the way that you've been placing yourself in this #1 seed, it would not be, we'll be seeing you in playoffs, and can't wait to see how that continues to go in that direction for you. So thank you so very much for your time, Infected.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for casting. You guys are awesome.
100%. We appreciate it, my friend. Kenobi! So,
that was so nice.
I know,
Thanks,
right?
Infected.
So we've got one match completed, and it was a good one. We still have another one on the board, though, because realistically, again, it's with a couple of the teams that are still in the middle of the pack, and how we have to be so watchful and how the scoring is going to go, because again, Amplified being in that middle ground, if they lose this one with how well Wisp is playing that we've got next, is that going to put them in a less favorable position in that top 8? There's so many things, and we're going to continue to harp on that, because it really can go any way. It's not nearly like, with EU it's a different story, but for here there are so many teams fighting for their life.
And this is also like one of the most important ones, because this is round 10, I believe, that we're going to be casting, and round 11 is tomorrow. So like, this is a matchup that is going to be incredibly impactful this round, like to decide like who gets what. Because and like at the end of the day, we'll obviously keep everyone updated in the chat, but this matchup in particular is going to be incredibly important for these two teams, because I think they're probably already pseudo guaranteed for playoffs.
Yeah.
So they're at least very close to it. I think the winner like can really relax if they win this one. They can relax and they can just go in tomorrow being like, okay, we like know we made playoffs for sure.
Yep. And we'll see, as we're going to head to a short break. Don't go anywhere, and we'll see how this one's going to fall to the wayside.
You like solving problems. Problems like how to stop that tracer from deleting your backline. I know just what you're thinking. Go bring a turret. But y'all can't solve all your problems by simply bringing an extra friend to the battlefield. For that, you need the Contenders Torbjorn skin. Solve your problems by connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. After that, watching Overwatch Contenders Summer Series will contribute to your drops progress, letting you claim your Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin. Even your turret gets an upgrade. Warning, the Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin does not come with extra or upgraded turrets. Build instructions will not be provided. By picking Torbjorn, you waive a claim towards any destroyed turrets. No refunds, no exchanges, and no take-backsies.
The heart and soul of our sport, where these players strive to become who they're truly meant to be.
No more break, it's time for action. Welcome to Overwatch Contenders. Hello everybody, welcome back. We're here for another match. It's going to be a good one. As we said before going into this break, we're looking forward to seeing both Wisp and Amplify go head to head. I'm Rich Red, and this is Kenobi, and we're going to be bringing you the action, friends.
There's not more to... Okay, I was like...
No.
I was like, okay, there's usually a preamble after that, and I was like,
I
okay.
saw the predictions, and I was like, you know what? I'm just... Ooh, predictions. Ooh, it's just one or two.
All right. Well, I mean, so going into this one, I mean, this is going to be an interesting one. Obviously, chats, you know, get your predictions. 1 for Wisp, 2 for Amplify here. I think they were correct in the last matchup. But going into this one, it'll be interesting because these are two, like, middle of the table, like, towards the top side of the standings between Wisp and between Amplify, who have kind of ramped up a little bit throughout the back end of this tournament. And we can take a look at the roster starting things off. Wisp coming in with Rocket and with Chopper as that. I feel like they've been together for like years as this DPS
the dynamic duo.
The synergy that they have is something that's really apparent whenever they play together. Riker has been really fantastic as well as a Winston player, you know, being able to swap in with Icy sometimes, depending on what the composition is needed. But this Wisp team has gotten, I mean, they're not as, I think, dominant, obviously, as what they were in Spring Series, where it was a team who was first seed by a significant margin. They busted out a little bit in playoffs, but I think that as long as you're keeping like this core of like Chopper and Rocket, I think you always have a chance, especially in metas where Tracer is incredibly important. They also have Sunjun on the roster, who is kind of like waiting in the wings if needed. But this Swiss team starting to make themselves kind of like looking like a dark horse. And speaking of dark horses, I think Amplify is another team that can kind of fit that role.
And with this roster and the names that we've seen and their performance, I know the last time we got to see them was specifically against Worldwide, where they fought like hell to try and get that reverse sweep, unfortunately coming up short. So now they're still in a position to make sure that they can solidify this top 8 and, you know, with these names. And specifically, as we do talk about Doge, or AKA full real translation, my name is Dog. They're looking to really bring the pain against Riker.
But I mean, since they like kind of had that one moment where they lost to Worldwide, and Worldwide, you know, is one of those teams who's towards, I mean, the only win that Worldwide has is against this Amplify team. Amplify was like looking pretty dire. I mean, they had a really like tough strength of schedule at the start. I think they were they had like 0-3 Splash, then they played Pip, so like all of these teams that were like really high in the table. But since that one matchup against Worldwide where they almost got the reverse sweep and then just fell a little bit short, like they 3-0'd Rift, then they 3-0'd Timeless, a team who was looking really good at the time. They 3-1 Dragon Dance, and they're coming off a 3-0 win over Strix. So, like, this team, since that one, like, blunder that they had against Worldwide, has really stepped up to the plate and are starting to gain some momentum going forward in this group stages, which I think is something that teams are going to have to be very careful about going up against a team who could have been seen earlier in the group stages as one of the weaker teams.
Yeah, they really aligned themselves, as we're going to be entering into our first map, which is going to be Busan for Control. And again, the variation when it goes round to round is going to be interesting to see compositionally what we have brought to the table here, especially when we get to that downtown area where there is a lot of that high verticality that you can play, the couple of different angles that you work through. So I'm just overall excited because I personally really enjoy of the Control maps this one, just because of the versatility that you can really bring to a lot of these different Control maps.
Yeah, like Mecha Base is like very Rush style, and then you have like those more open maps. So I think this is, again, whenever we have maps like this to start off, it's good kind of like indication of what the rest of the map will look like, or what rest of the series will look like. It is like a bit catch-22 though, because of the fact that there are some maps where it's just like, hey, we're playing this composition no matter what, and like sometimes this is a map where it's like a player who may not be as like great as Ramatra is going to be playing Ramatra just because of the necessity of it. So that is something to keep in mind as we watch Control maps like this. But I think that matchup between the tanks, between Doge and between Riker, is going to be something to keep an eye on, because Riker, last time we saw him against a very, very good 0-3 Splash team, was really taking it to Infected on the wins. That was something I really noticed. So having that in this first matchup is going to be something that I think Amplify is going to have to, and Doge specifically, is going to have to deal with.
Yeah, he'll be someone to definitely keep a watchful eye of, as we do have these last few moments before predictions do close. Make sure that you get those in so we can see exactly what that percentage breakdown is, and if Wisp is going to seem to have the upper hand again here, now that we've been able to see them do quite a bit of work against O3 and other competitors. And entering now first onto Sanctuary, we're going to see what the composition looks like and a couple of interesting hover-overs, but we'll give them just enough time as we do see them come out the gate.
And PGE on this Sojourn is something that throughout the series we're going to have to kind of keep an eye on. Because when Amplify was, last time we saw them on our broadcast, was like playing Worldwide, even from the interview we heard that, sometimes PGE is just going to 1v9 on Sojourn, and something we have to be aware of. So,
and he killed it.
Wisp is, Wisp is going to also have to be incredibly aware of this happening, because of the fact that PGE is so good on this hero and will pick it more often than not. But already out the gate, a little bit of an interesting choice coming out from Wisp, the Hammond into the lineup, so trying to disrupt that backline and just really, with this dive, create a lot of chaos.
And Rocket already looking to compete against Tap. Doge, meanwhile, elsewhere, is getting very heavily aggressed on. Nice top-up, though, from both Buddy and Power, as they cycle back to the drums. Contention now, initially, with Chopper repositioning back further, and with Doge going down, that's going to make it extremely challenging for Amplify to actually have a stable footing here, especially with the way that Riker's harassing, but nice sleep to at least buy some time and not get completely overwhelmed on the back line.
But I mean, you could see all the time when the health parts are just being pressured down so low from Amplify and Wisp. I mean, with the crossfire that they have and the disruption as well with the Hammond, it makes it so hard for Amplify to gain their footing and find a way to get into these points unless PGE can find a sort of rail shot or if there's tap with a one clip.
And now they maneuver towards the outskirts, just near the pagoda, looking for a nice Ravenous Vortex to potentially slow the back line, but nobody amongst the center. As Doge once again very heavily forced down. Nice Bionade across the way onto the supports to force them back. Pulse Bomb actually denied for the moment. Tap not able to get a second pickup after Riker. And there's a counterplay from Rocket. PGE down, the one that we were really focusing on to have some major waves to counteract against the way that Wisp is playing. Amplified actually doing quite a stellar job here to contest and swing this back with Doge and the Nano on the point, taking it and gaining some percentage.
Yeah, the Nano going to do a lot here. Riker just needs to get out of dodge and Amplify come back in. It was a very scary first couple of points, but really they did a good job of focusing when Riker went a little bit too aggressive, and they instantly shut him down. Tap did a great job of following Riker away to be able to get and secure that kill. But now Wisp can come back in with a couple of key ultimates. Bob's going to be one that's very important. There's also going to be a nano boost that they can throw onto Rocket to create a lot of chaos in that backline.
Yep, you can see instantly onto the point, starting to gain presence. It's going to force back Amplify to contest this. Sleep for the moment, at least going to nullify the extra damage that comes in specifically from Chopper. As Rocket plays behind the wall, he's going to look to dive in shortly, but the Annihilation becomes active, zoning out multiple members. Nice sleep for the moment, but they're still all within range, so it gives the extra duration. Chopper gets 2 kills onto both PGE and Tap, so that removes all the damage outside of the Annihilation. So once this falls, there's no real way to combat back against Wisp.
And I mean, I was thinking that Neb was going to throw that nano onto the Tracer, but he just gives it over to Chopper, who is like, okay, I have high ground for free. There's not really anything that's going to contest me, and gets 2 quick ones that completely turns that fight on its head for Wisp. And now, again, Wisp have a great control of the sightlines to work with here. And for Amplify, especially now moving PGE onto this Sombra, they have to really make a decision like who they want to go after, because Chopper doesn't really have anything contesting him right here on this high ground, right? That's going to be one of the things, is that Chopper and Neb are going to be really, really safe back here. It's up to Amplify to win potentially the frontline battle more so than anything.
And Rocket tosses the Pulse Bomb. Doesn't land off the supports, unfortunately, with the reposition. Extreme focus, but 2 already taken down. Amplify has been able to take the numbers advantage out the gate early. They've not really needed to focus Chopper because they removed the front line in and of itself, as Doge just plays forward, guarantees the space, and now looks for potentially that final fight territory with Wisp on the attack.
And I think that was really smart as well from Amplify, where they just focus on down the Hammond, because with Sombra, with Tracer, and with like all of the upfront damage that Amplify has, the Hammond's just going to get absolutely annihilated through that. But Rocket actually comes in and one-clips the Brigitte. That's disastrous for Amplify.
And now Chopper's going to have a free position to just pump out this damage, because at this point, you can see that Rocket is going to play with the flank, and Tap can't quite get to him. Has to regroup with the rest of the team in the backside to give coverage. So Wisp is going to be able to take this back. Tap getting completely knocked about with the reposition from Riker, and they are just looking to finalize the last couple that remain on this position so that they can take this first round.
Yeah, with that nano, that should be able to secure it, and I don't know if there's a way back in for Amplify. There is not, and Wisp with a great one clip coming in from Rocket there, just on the Brigitte, completely annihilating that fight before it could even start, especially because it's the Brigitte of all things, which is so adept at dealing with Hammonds, right? Whip shot against Hammond, stopping all that momentum. It just lets Rocket and Riker play a lot more with the space that's given to them with that, as we see the chat predictions. 63% in favor of Amplify, which I don't blame them, or in favor of Wisp. I don't blame them for that, but I think this is probably going to end up being a little bit closer than this chat prediction would dictate.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is going to be a lot closer because of just the way that Amplify is able to kind of, really find the advantages once they start getting in their stride. Going against Wisp right now, you can see that there is a little bit of dominance, just able to really play to their strengths. But if Amplify can find a couple of early takedowns here and eliminate that backline, and also with what PGE can do potentially on this Widowmaker, could really be able to get this round in their control.
I like this rotation already, though, from Wisp, kind of using this area by the Mega Pack, not really giving angles for PGE to work with. But Chopper is left by themselves in the backline and gets one clipped by the Hammond. So Doge starting things off really strong here.
And as the objective becomes active, Amplify going to maneuver down below, but needing to keep a very watchful eye of where PGE is and the sightlines that can be obtained. Riker playing aggressively on this Junker Queen, looking for the Jagged Blade. The Carnage actually going to pull them into it. Great! Suzu to come through and nullify that crowd control onto Riker, but PGE taking down Magic 8-Ball is going to be really difficult. You only have Neb to keep this team alive and topped up. It's actually Wisp that still managed to get this point despite Amplify getting the early advantage over Chopper and forcing the swap onto the Sombra.
I mean, the thing is that Wisp have a lot of sustainability, so if Amplify aren't able to find kills quickly and effectively, they're not going to be able to match the sustainability that Wisp has, especially with the Junker Queen like this as... Power Boost is going to get Pulse Bombed there, down, and that means that I don't think there's a way in for Amplify here.
Nope. Wisp still continuing to climb in percentage, already a third of the way there, and can play really calm, cool, and collective as they start getting these ultimates online.
And you can see PGE has kind of opted to go over to the Sojourn. The Widowmaker not really going to work, especially with Wisp just turtling on point. You're not going to get any good sightlines to work with in that scenario, so switching over to something a little bit better. And also the Hammond's not going to be here either, so just completely switching things up for Amplify, who are already down a significant amount of percent off of just a singular fight.
And we'll see if they're able to recover now that there's only 40% remaining for Wisp to be able to conclude this. Nano Boost active onto Doge moving forward. There is the Kitsune Rush from Neb in the back, looking to keep their distance from Doge. They're allowing the point to swap for now because they've played the extensive game away from the point, and despite them being spread and looking for those picks, it's actually going to be Amplified coming in very heavily.
Yeah, Wisp tried to go really aggressive there using that Kitsune Rush aggressively, but I think they would have been better served probably just staying towards that point and just taking up as much percentage as they can and making Amplify play into them more so than anything else. Luckily, Wisp still have 4 ultimates in their bank to match what Amplify is going to have, so it's not too bad in terms of the macro losses here.
Going to swap it back in the flank. You can see they're going to have to cycle near. PGE actually gets a pickup onto Neb. That's not what you want to see. Magic 8-Ball now takes down PGE. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Wisp taking the advantage. Pulse Bomb lands, and this is Wisp. Patience is a virtue. They find the moment to execute onto Amplify, and they even force out the Annihilation on this.
Yeah, I mean, that Annihilation is one that I think Doge is going to want to have back for this next fight, but I mean, potentially you could have turned it if you had enough health bars low enough, but one thing about Wisp that I love is just watching Rocket play Tracer. Rocket's Tracer, every time we get a POV, just feels like a treat. That stick, the 180 just directly onto the back of the Brigitte during rally, completely ends the rally from getting any value, and with 86% taking upwards, this is last fight chance for Amplify.
EMP lands, instantly pops. Power boost. Both have lost the support, but PGE is online right now. Almost gets the third with the overclock. They've been able to cycle down below to swap this position over, but it's still, again, Wisp having another attempt to get back into this as they get the 5 back online.
And with the hacked Mega Pack, Riker's actually going to be able to come back into this one. Immortality Field has been used already from Buddy, who was taken down incredibly low, and Wisp are just going to go back to this point and take it back.
Yeah, and Doge has to swap to the Reinhardt to make sure that they can charge to get here more quickly for this close brawl. As the shield blocks the incoming damage and maneuvers down below, there's a boop and a knockback onto Power Boost. The hack still comes in. There's no way they can get out of this. And Riker finds a Carnage onto tap. So they have complete control of this. And it just all of a sudden dissolves in front of them with an entire team kill as Wisp takes this first map.
Wisp looking very clean on this first map, especially the best thing about this is I think they look really clean on 2 different types of compositions, right? Chopper, going over to his signature Ash, being able to really pop off on that in Sanctuary, but then moving over to something like the Sombra, offering a little bit more of a double flanker look as we're going to see play the game from Rocket. I mean, again, love watching Rocket play this hero to such a high level. You can argue one of the best tracers, if not the best tracer that we have in the region. So Wisp starting things out strong again with the first map.
And as you can see, the initial map was definitely, I would say, a little bit more well played by Amplified, especially utilizing the Wrecking Ball. Here in the second map, really didn't yield as much value. The swap had to come in. The Ramatra at this point, when you're playing behind the 8 ball and with Wisp already dominating on the position, it really was only that one guess, misplay with them going away from the Kazune rush, going for the rush, and then once they were able to say, you know what, let's cut our losses, let's get back into this, they stabilize once again, and then go right into their well-thought-out, slow, methodical play that can just instantly take this back.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit like compositional mismatch at the start, right? Because they bring out this like Widowmaker composition with the Hammond, and to Wisp's credit, they do the exact thing you need to do, where they just go directly onto point. There's no sight lines. Hammond's not really going to get a lot of value, like kind of making those engagements on the point like that. So I think that was really heads up play and good compositional understanding from Wisp about how to just outmaneuver your opponent in a situation like that. Even though that we saw Amplify got the first pick on Chopper, but Wisp were very calm, cool, and collected. They said we can still just get to point. It hasn't unlocked yet. So I think that's really good composure from Wisp to be able to kind of take that loss, but still just, take an advantage somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's something I've really admired from Wisp. But I think something, even though they've had their leaps and bounds and their like peaks and valleys over the course of what we've seen them play, that's always been kind of like the essence for them, is that they do like to take those moments to really evaluate the situation and not allow themselves to kind of be caught up in the intensity of a moment where they can say, let's give a little ground to gain a little more. And that's really been shown here most recently, as we do have confirmation of our next map, which is going to be Numbani. Once again, we get to see for our hybrid map. And again, we look to the strengths that we've talked about already earlier in the prior match. The Winston selections, how are they going to elevate themselves to be able to counteract against that? And who is going to really be playing the better monkey comp?
Yeah, I mean, Winston really the most important thing here, as we do have a sub coming in for Wisp. Sunjun is going to be back in to this lineup, so someone who I talked about a little bit before before we started the series, coming into play, some of those more projectile-esque DPS that like Chopper I think is more of a, I'd say, true hit scan more so than anything else, but this offers the ability for this team to play like Rocket on Tracer, and then Sunjun can be on something like an Echo. I think is what we're probably going to be seeing here. Genshi's not a terrible pick either, but this adds a little bit more flexibility for the projectile pool on a map like this, where I think you usually do need that like secondary projectile player. Yeah,
I mean, because we could have seen Chopper stay in, because the Ashe does still sometimes bring value, at least when we talk about a lot of different varieties in Numbani. But when Rocket and Sunjun are on the same map together, it gives so much variety between the two of them. They have such a wider range of options, I think, in some of these occasions, where they can really have that conversation of like, who's going to do what? Do you want to do this? No, we're going to adjust it a little bit. Let's change this, because we saw that last time we had Wisp on broadcast going against O3. Between the two of them, they were so fluid and liquid between the adjustments that really were able to overwhelm their opponent because of that hero depth.
It also seems like they work together really well, which is cool, because I think that one of the things that we saw in the highlight package was kind of like the coordination between Chopper and between Rocket, like with the Sombra and with the Tracer, just instantly killing power boost on that Lucio, right? Just instantly getting that. That's like something that's really a good indication of like the synergy you have. But like even when Sunjun comes into the roster, I don't really see like too much of a dip in that between the DPS. They seem like they're still working together extremely well. And I think going into this matchup, it's something that you're going to still need, because of the fact that like Echo and Tracer are usually really important on a map like this. And you've got one of the best Tracers in NA in Rocket. Also, if you want to put like Rocket onto something else, Sunjun is incredibly capable of playing a Tracer in his own right.
Yeah, we've seen it on two separate occasions that he played the Tracer, where we were still quite mesmerized at the effectiveness that it can have, allowing that shift in composition to take elsewhere with, I believe it was Sombra, if I'm not mistaken, that they did swap the roles between the two, where they were able to still yield very proficient value. As we are now going to be entering into this map to see what exactly we get out the gate for the initial engagement between these two. And overall, I mean, amplified with the way that we're going to have Sunjun come in specifically for this composition, I think this is a tall task for Amplify.
I think it is too, but I think the other thing about this Amplified team that is, I think they do need like a little bit of time to warm up, it feels like, where it's like last time we saw them against Worldwide, those first two maps looked like they were going to get 3-0'd, right?
Yeah.
Like, they did not look like they really had their legs under them. And then like PGE started to really step up to the plate. Tap also did as well, so it feels like a team that needs like just a little bit of time to like warm up, and this is a good map, especially a map pick that they have, where they can start to really bring it back as much as possible.
I honestly feel that one of those shirts we would see Uber wear. Like, I was just looking at the details on him and the colors. I'm like, I could definitely see Uber wearing one of those. The shoes not so much, but the shirt's for sure. So we're going to be entering in now onto this. Again, Wisp on the attacking side first, Amplify on the defense. And for at least the defensive side, we can see that they are going to bring Tap in on this Echo, which has been a lot more rising to power, but nothing like the Mercy that we got to see in our previous match.
Yeah, I don't think that felt kind of like just a specific thing to that team and how they were going to operate that offense. But here on the offense, it looks like it actually is going to be Rocket on that Echo. So Sunjun is going to be operating that Tracer. And again, I think the best thing about this is that I don't really feel like you lose too much, as Tap has been caught completely in no man's land. I mean, that was very aggressive. The DPS of Amplify are super aggressive in this positioning, and they've lost Tap already, and now Wisp are going to just go to the point and start taking all the space away. Yeah,
he's definitely questioning the decision that was made. That's already one tick, soon to be the second. Amplify is getting cut down so quickly here, and this is now at this point just a moment for Amplify to try and come back in to stall as much as they can, but it's too risky for them and they have to just give up the point.
Yeah, I mean, I get the idea of trying to catch your opponent off guard to some extent, especially with Tracer and Echo where you have that assassination potential, but you need to be really sure that you can secure those kills, or at least trade. If they had traded at least 1-for-1, I'm much more okay with that, but the fact that they didn't secure any kills makes that a complete gamble that they lost right there. So, I mean, sometimes happens in Overwatch, but now they've given a very significant time bank over to Wisp. 5.5 minutes to start working through second point here. Luckily, Amplify have their DPS ultimates online relatively soon, but Wisp have their own, so they're totally fine with that trade.
Yeah, Sunjun and Rocket gonna look to commit this. Rocket specifically, there's the pulse bomb as well. Nice recovery though from Amplify, not allowing either of those to get nearly as much value as they could have, and they eliminate Neb in the chaos of it all. And now they can anchor on this corner and continue to bring this massive time bank down.
Yeah, that was really clutch from PGE. Specifically, the one target that was the perfect target for that pulse bomb that PGE had was the Ana, because Neb had his nano significantly quicker than Buddy did. Now they're matched a little bit in this next fight, because if that nano comes out in that other fight, there's a potential that is just too overwhelming for Wisp to deal with.
Tap getting boosted inside of the barrier, so there's cover fire for the moment. And you can see that both Doge and Tap work wonders in this close room. And now continue to hold on to it. Staggering out Wisp is going to be the real challenge for them. They need to just wait for a solid regroup with Rocket back into the mix of it. Duel up top for the Winstons for now, but at this point, Doge is just going to fall back.
Yeah, I think they're going to have the nano from Neb here, probably throw that onto one of the DPS, either the Tracer or the Echo, just to get that assassination potential into that backline. But here comes Doge. Oh, it's nicely played. Neb is so low.
Gets knocked back into the spawn and gains the sleep to deny the extra swing. So Doge has to abandon ship now, give space, and Wisp is able to break away from that corner.
And only having to use the pulse bomb in the rally for that one, so they keep both their sustain ultimates with the nano and with this primal rage. It's going to be great for just disrupting that backline. Specifically, Buddy on that Ana has to be incredibly careful and hit the sleep onto Riker, or Riker is just going to juggle him into Kingdom Come.
Yep. Now dropping down below, making sure to keep them at bay to generate additional distance. Rally is active. The shield bash doesn't come in to get the stun onto Riker, so they just maneuver up top once again, taking the high ground position. Sticky bombs do quite a bit, but still holstering this primal rage until absolutely necessary, and with the Bionade landed, that is for sure the green button. The juggle continues in the corner. No health pack for you. Unfortunately, doesn't quite get the full juggle and is able to recover with a defensive nade. But as we cycle back, visibly back onto Rocket, Neb and both of them are really working against the way that Tap has been playing aggressively, and Sunjun getting the pulse bomb onto Buddy guarantees that there's no way that they can recover.
Yeah, Riker might not have secured the kill, but just the amount of zoning potential coming in there was insane. Just taking Buddy completely out of the fight, taking the Brig out of the fight as well, because Power Boost had to just sit there and continuously help and pack Yana in that situation. So it's just a snowball continuing for Wisp here. 4 minutes about in their bank to continuously move forward. Luckily, there is going to be a nano boost from Buddy to be able to stop the bleeding a little bit here, but Rocket with the duplicate could kind of turn that completely around if they can weather the storm of the Nano.
Ooh, that's a lot of damage incoming onto Doge. On entry, basically being deleted the second they touch the ground. But there is at least a counterplay from Tap, denying Rocket from getting the duplicate to keep this momentum forward, but needs to still be very cautious with 3 minutes and 20 to go.
Be careful here. See, they're just dueling and posturing with each other. Nano available for Nep now. We'll see where this ends up going into the backline. Sunjin gets a pulse bomb onto Buddy.
Yep, second time around we've seen it. Doge with the Primal Rage active, hit by the bio, and now you've got the raid boss that is Magic 8-Ball aggressing forward, but no one's really close enough for them to gain any additional value with the damage or potentially even a whip shot to force them back. 3 minutes now to go. Last few meters remaining. Rocket instantly takes down PGE, who was looking to be that contention on the payload, so you have to have Doge hop back into this. No sort of emergency with the Primal Rage since it was used in the previous fight. Wisp now completely overtaking this Tap, looking to gain that Primal Rage, but can't quite gain it fast enough in the duplicate, so they are now falling one by one. Wisp dominating now with 2 minutes and 28 seconds on the clock, taking the swap of sides.
And we saw a lot of aggression from Amplify there, and like very high tempo. I would say like kind of like, I don't want to say coin flippy, but like there was a lot of gambles that I think Amplify made here that just unfortunately didn't pay off, right? They could have gone either way, where it's like, I like the idea of just sending Tap in, being very aggressive in a lot of these moments, but sometimes it didn't pay off, especially after first point, right? That first point attack where they went super duper aggressive. Like, I don't see a lot of teams play in that area because it's just so easy to secure those kills. And then from there, like, Amplify won a couple of fights, but it felt like just there wasn't really ever a way back in for Amplify to get a foothold after just Wisp took the inch that was given to them and took the mile.
I can definitely see the possibility of gaining value due to the fact of Amplify not maybe typically playing that type of style and catching Wisp off guard, but it goes back to the topic that you mentioned where you really didn't even get a trade out of it. You just instantly lost one player, so you're playing behind the 8-ball, and
you just gambled and lost.
Yeah,
and, I mean that's kind of it. I mean, if you take that gamble and you like end up getting, if he ends up getting a kill or like getting 2 kills off of that, Tap comes back in, probably has a lot of ult charge. So it was a gamble that they just took and they lost. But full credit to Wisp, I think, for like seeing that advantage and just being like, okay, well, we're just going to start running through the map, and they finished with 2.5 minutes, which is a fantastic time bank on a map like this. And Wisp, I mean, playing a little bit aggressive here, but this time having some cover a little bit with that shield from Riker before they go back out. So now, I mean, same composition for both these teams. Again, where these Echoes are going to be focusing is going to be something important for me. Like, are they going to be focusing on the tanks? Is there going to be more of an Echo battle? We'll have to see where a lot of the focus is from those assassination potentials.
Yeah, Tap continuing to take that elevated position for the sticky bombs onto Riker, who continues to play this corner. Long-range stickies onto the supports with a reposition, since there is a separation between both, and that is a big response coming in from Rocket, recognizing the movement from Tap and able to completely deny them any sort of additional value, because realistically, I feel like Tap was playing a little bit more reckless and not as cognizant of where Rocket was.
I think that was really well played from Rocket, though, all things considered, where Rocket really, I think, is playing more of a peel style, where it's like, if Tap is going to use all of his mobility and cooldowns to just try and kill this one person that I have faith is going to be able to live a little bit longer, then they're going to be just completely free for me to hit a bunch of stickies on, and that's exactly what happened. So I really like the decision-making from Rocket and from Riker there to be able to just be like, hey, if you're going to be this aggressive, Tap, we're going to punish you for it. And you can see how much it's rewarded Wisp already. Sunjun about to have a pulse bomb. Rocket significantly ahead of Tap in that duplicate, and Tap is down again.
Yep, you can see the couple of stickies land once again from Rocket, again being so reactive in understanding how much has been expended from Tap, and now they're going to isolate underneath here, where they do separate Doge, again recognizing that they need to get taken down back to the spawn, and already half the time bank is gone.
And I mean, it hasn't really felt like Amplify have found a way into this, as we're going to see Tap. I mean, this is really aggressive, though, from Tap. I mean, look where Tap is, and look where the supports are. Like, if Tap isn't securing that kill, there's no way Tap is being able to get any, like, there's no healing available to Tap. Tap has to get that kill to be able to make that flank worth it, because the supports are just not in an area to heal him. They're out of LOS.
You can see now Now, once again, Rocket playing the high ground, waiting for the responsiveness, focusing beam onto Doge. And again, it's just this disjointed play. There's so much separation. Now they're going to have a duplicate where it's really not going to gain any value here. They've thrown that ultimate basically to the wayside to try and enter and step into the Winston play because Doge got picked up so early.
It just feels like they're a little bit lost here, and Amplifier trying to throw things at the wall and see what sticks here, whether it's like these aggressive plays from Tap on the flank or just like a little bit of miscommunication, because again, a lot of the time the supports just don't seem like they're an LOS, but that's a nice kill with the Nano.
Yeah, big pick to come out, finally denying what Rocket has brought to the table, but Sunjun has been very pivotal in being able to recover on a lot of these fights. Has the pulse bomb bashed and knocked back 3 HP. Can't get away because the dart comes in from Buddy. And now, after relentless attempts, you finally have Amplify able to gain control with 320 to move into the streets phase.
And they're kind of just able to brute force their way through it, basically using every ultimate that they had without, the duplicate and the pulse bomb that had been used a little bit earlier. But for Wisp, I mean, unfortunate that Rocket wasn't able to hit that duplicate in time to be able to just like negate some of the value coming in from the duplicated nanoed echo, but Sunjun hits another pulse bomb. I feel like every single time, either it's Rocket or it's Sunjun, whenever there's a pulse bomb, it's sticking onto someone.
Yeah, he's making sure that it's at least getting value on one target, and then even if it doesn't get the second target, they're low enough that there is the immediate follow-up, and it's just securing multiple kills. As we now see that they have been able to hold on to this corner, and this is another prime position that Wisp can deny Amplify from gaining any value.
Yeah, great position as well. And with Neb, I mean, Neb has been hitting a lot of these backboard antis that have been getting a lot of value, so Amplify need to be careful, especially in this enclosed area where antis can get a lot of value because Wisp will just pounce onto it if they see this person.
BGE, oh my goodness. Really needs to be cognizant of all that incoming damage and their positioning as you see them maneuver forward with the dive, double Winston play, Magic Mateball, and Neb so vulnerable in the back. And that's going to give major headway as they cycle back to eliminate, as there were 4 monkeys right now on the field, and it is utter chaos. There's so much science going on right now, but Amplified finally able to take control.
It's like Overwatch before hero limits, just 4
Right.
Winstons continuously jockeying around with each other. But I mean, good dive from Amplify going after the Brigitte and the Ana specifically, knowing that Brigitte just won't have enough healing to be able to chew through everything in terms of double Winston and also an echo behind it. But really good job from Wisp to counter dive, and a great heavy stick, and then an anti on the Tap who was nanoed. Sunjun gets another kill. This is just, oh, that's sad.
Yeah,
that's really sad.
Sunjun, he's been killing it, like, on this Tracer.
I think
again.
Sunjun has hit every single pulse so far onto at least someone, it feels
Yeah.
like. At least on this defense, every single pulse bomb is stuck, for sure.
Because now with only 60 seconds remaining, you can see the stats right there, just about to surpass that 10k damage, as you can see right there. Oh my goodness, that's an instant force on the Primal Rage to get through it. Now with 50 seconds, PGE comes in with some vengeance, as we've already commented Sunjun repeatedly, as now they have the numbers advantage playing forward. 40 seconds for this home stretch to get into the final stage. Wisp needs to be able to stabilize and come back into it so they can just close this out, but Amplify not yet done yet as they force back Sunjun.
Oh, Sunjun gets hit with the stickies. That means no pulse bomb available to this team, but throughout all this, Riker is just in the backline trying to juggle the Ana out of this entirely.
Ooh, the stickies getting low. Riker close enough to the supports that they can top them up. Bionade making this a little bit more challenging since they no longer have that Primal Rage as a failsafe. Now, there's only 5 seconds to go. The overtime will become active. Riker dives up top. Duplicate active, tap, double Winston once again as it goes to a double Ana. So it is 3 supports versus the double tank. Can they make it work? It's Wisp actually being able to flourish with the amount of healing available. The Pulse Bomb isn't able to land onto anyone. Sunjun goes down. The re-aggression from Riker to pick up the support line in the back. Power boost is gone. Buddy is next in sight as Neb lands a Bionade before getting taken down themselves. Do they come back in time? Riker holding the point, competing against it alongside Sunjoon. It is unfortunately not going to be enough. The focusing beam does the double damage and guarantees the checkpoint.
Wisp Amplify are able to get another life, just barely at the end of that, being able to scrape together a win, but only a minute left. I mean, now it's about figuring out if they can finish it all and finish with time, because with Wisp having 2.5 minutes in their bank, if they don't finish with time, it's only drawable for Amplify.
Going to recover here. Amplify drawing back ever so slightly so that they can re-enter with a more favorable opportunity. PGE having that pulse bomb now. Will look for a stick. Doesn't land once again. Has not been able to land nearly as consistently as we've seen from Sunjoon. Rocket boosted. Be able to get a lot of damage pressured out. If they can get tapped, that's key. The reposition, the body block, and they do still get the elimination. 38 seconds now. Amplify has to fall back and recover.
Yeah, now, I mean, there's no way they're going to complete with time at all for this Amplify team. They luckily do have a rally to work with. Tap has another duplicate and has been really getting a lot of value out of duplicating the Winston, but that's all they're going to be able to have, and Wisp have enough ultimates in their own bank to be able to PGE desperation swap over towards that Sojourn just to offer that one pick potential and comfort.
Sunjoon gets picked up by the rail shot from the distance, tried to be stealthy underneath. The aggression forward from Wisp. Nobody's going to be able to get to the payload. It's really only Tap now with the duplicate to buy time. Magic Maple getting 2, though, makes this extremely difficult. It's a hope and a prayer now for Amplify. Tap's just like, somebody please come and help me. I'm all by myself and I have nowhere to go.
I mean, Dojo's able to Dojo's able to get a Primal Rage and is going to be back into this fight soon. Tap, though, gets obliterated by Rocket.
Yep, transitioning down below, attempting to elude the damage. Power boost comes on the Lifeweaver just to show us that that could potentially be of value. But it won't. Actually, PGE gets a couple of rail shots here. They're playing in the corner. PGE, what is happening?
I mean, this is PG's, potential pick here. It's going to be able to bring them back in, but I just think it's not enough. That's going to be it. That's going to be a very close moment for PGE to bring that one back. Without healers, it's just so difficult to even make that one happen and bring it back. It was a good attempt, but it's going to be Wisp here with the 2-0.
It was like, what, 5 HP? Just chilling there behind the payload, like, somebody help me! Somebody help me! This was
funny, though.
Yeah. Just coming in clutch. Didn't need the nano. Just was the raid boss outright. I got my shield, I got my bash. And, okay, so since we have a little bit of the footage here right now, the ability for Wisp to just be like, all right, if you're going to play this aggressively and this disjointed, we're just going to exploit every weakness on multiple occasions. And losing that much time out the gate is where you start really feeling it in these later parts where it's most needed, especially on that last, phase.
It was a bit frustrating, too, because you saw a lot of times where there were some good dives from Amplify, right? Like, they were coordinated when they would, send Doge and send Tap at the same time to kill the Brigitte in the backline. Like, there were some good moments from them. It just felt like there was a lot more disjointedness on that first attack more so than anything else, right? The amount of time that it took them for them to get first really, really hindered them, because it was I think they got it with 30 seconds left at the very end, and a lot of that was just by them brute forcing their way in with a bunch of ultimates. So I think from Amplify's perspective, it's back to the drawing board during this halftime, because they need to find a way to realistically get on the same page a little bit, because it has looked a little bit disjointed, and that's not something that, I mean, when we saw them against Worldwide, right, that was something that they also had a little bit of trouble with in those first 2 maps, but then, map 3 and map 4 came around, they looked a lot better, even in map 5 that they didn't end up winning, but they still looked a lot better. So I think that there is a possibility for this Amplify team to, after the halftime, take a deep breath and come back in with a little bit more of that coordination play that we saw previously on broadcast.
And we'll see if they're able to pull through with these few moments, so don't go anywhere, friends, because we'll be back with the rest of the game in just a moment.
Oh, hello, fancy meeting you here. It's so nice to see ya. Are you ready to survive the wastelands? Then you'll need to bring your shotgun, your axe, and of course, your knife. For your sharp wit, if you get my drift. Hey, whoa. Hold on there. Don't forget to pick up your Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Yeah, gearing up is as easy as connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. And after that, watching the Overwatch Contender Summer Series will contribute to your drop progression. letting you claim your own wasteland-ready Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Oh, that's right. It's time to rampage. Now, get out there and slay with the Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Okay, take care now. See you in chat.
Hi, friends. We're back. We find ourselves now on a match point here for Wisp, where they've been able to take both maps. And now we find ourselves going into Circuit Royal Kenobi, where we're looking to see some Sigma plays, I would hope, since that is the place that we get to see it most often. We talked a little bit about it when we were talking about with both previous teams, but now we're heading there for this series.
Yeah, I mean, I would be very surprised if this isn't Sigma because of the fact that it is the Circuit. I don't think we're going to do like what some of the 8-pack teams have done, where they just handshake that, hey, we're going to just play Winston on here because we don't really want to play Sigma at all. We're more comfortable with our Winston play. But I think that this is going to be, especially with some of the subs that I can see coming in, this is definitely going to be the fact that we're going to be seeing Sigma on this map. And those long-range hit scans also going to be something that we have to be looking out for, because on a map like this, Widowmaker and Hanzo kind of reign supreme for the most part.
And because of that, I'm so looking at Chopper and PGE and how that's going to duel out between the two of them and just what they're going to bring to the table. As we do have an adjustment here, and we can take a look at the Wisp roster specifically. We're going to have Icy subbing in specifically, as we talked about. No surprise there with a Sigma selection, as you can see on screen. So really looking to step to the plate and see how they can compete against what Amplify has in store, because again, this is where Amplify has to turn the dial, as we saw already once against Worldwide. They're looking to do the same here against Wisp.
Yeah, and I mean, also the fact that you have Rocket out of the roster, and it's actually going to be Chopper and Sunjun as a dynamic duo, which I think makes sense. You know, Sunjun can definitely probably play some sort of hit scan role. Chopper also on the Hanzo or on the Ashe, depending on what type of flavor that they want to be opting in for on a map like this. I think this fits definitely with their play style on Wisp, which is something that I think not a lot of other teams can do in Contenders NA right now, where it's like they can have this kind of switch completely with like their DPS trio or like with their tank line, where it's like this is like one of the perfect places to be for like this roster setup in particular. So I think that they're using their roster mobility roster depth effectively to go to a map like this on King's Row, or Circuit Royale rather.
Yeah, and again, get a nice little variation somewhere along the lines here, and we've been able to see specifically Amplify play this quite well and really do a very decent job rotating Icy in and having just such a proficiency in the way that they play alongside this. And as we enter into this map again, we're looking to see if they can gain that same type of energy as we've seen before for them, because they've got a long haul to have 3 more maps to try and fight for. And that was still an exciting one when we got to map 5, round 3. So they've been able to go the distance.
Yeah, I mean, they brought it back a little bit, you know, go the distance, Hercules style. But I think that, like, again, this is a matchup where I think Doge is, like, very talented on a lot of the main tanks. It'll be interesting to see how, like, the Sigma, like, is able to be played compared to, like, Icy, who is, like, very much a known off-tank player, more so than anything else. So that'll be a matchup that I'm interested in. But also, I mean, the matchup between the DPS just has to really come to the forefront here, especially on a map like this where it is just so important for those those long-range hit scans to really find value, because if you're not hitting your shots on Hanzo and Widowmaker, it's incredibly difficult to win maps like this. As forehead as that sound, you need to just hit your shots, but these are 2 heroes that literally rely on that more so than anything else in their kit.
It was so forehead sounding that I felt it from here. As we're going to see.
I don't get it.
I don't know. I was trying to make it work. Like, forehead, like, hit me. Like, it was so forehead that I felt it. You know, we're going to let that lie.
I need to stop using Zoomer terminology with you.
I just like to try and make it... fine. Okay. You can definitely eradicate that from our conversation. Because most of the time, my boomer brain ain't going to hit the Zoomer brain. Yeah. I'm starting to figure out that I just can't do that anymore. As we do see, there's the first shot coming out the gate. PGE on the defense completely nullifies Chopper, but Sunjun up top actually gets quite a bit of space here to take the high ground and is putting a lot of pressure onto the shield, but holy goodness, 1 HP and a dream to get out of there, and Power Boost says, friend, you ain't getting out.
And one of the things about this composition and, like, differentiation between the Sojourn and the Hanzo is that the Hanzo has that one-shot potential and can also help the sidelines a little bit with the Widowmaker, but Sunjun kind of needs to be relatively close to the action to get value, right? And you have to ramp up a little bit. You don't just have that instant one-shot potential. And you can see that's why Sunjun is trying to play these, like, off angles and farm up that rail to be able to find a one-shot potential.
Yeah, because we could see it on the POV where it was this focus onto Doge down below to generate that rail shot, but the shield was there to block most of the incoming damage, so it really isn't able to come nearly as fast so that they can utilize it against it. And now that they do get that intel as well from Tap, nice arrow firing onto Sunjun, and PGE cleaning up and ripping the head off of Magic Mateball.
And I think the other thing that the Hanzo brings to the table is shield break, which is making it a little bit more difficult for Icy to flex. PGE takes down Chopper, and right now, PGE is completely taking over this lobby. 4 final blows already, 5 limbs, really strutting his stuff on this Widowmaker. Almost takes down Sunjun, and Wisp need to find a way to deal with this Widowmaker, or they're going to have a very quick Circuit Royale.
Yeah, they need to break this foundation that has been sturdily made. With 2 minutes now, already dwindling half the clock. Chopper looking for some interesting grapple shots to try and get the advantage, but it's really not being able to get maximum value because of this angle that they're playing. You can see that PGE and Tap are playing near the statue and also the shop down below, so they don't really have to play out as far. But when PGE wants to play forward, they get the shot and didn't even need to land the headshot because they had the amplification matrix.
And I mean, they're still able to trade one out for PGE. Sunjun, I was going to lose it if Sunjun actually peeked that. I mean, PGE's hitting a lot of shots here, but the kills aren't coming through just yet. Needs to be very careful.
Wow.
Actually, I would consider that a little bit greedy from PGE.
Oh no, and the overclock breaks the brickling down underneath. The foundation falls and everything crumbles.
That's tragic too, because the defense was looking so good for them. You can see the amount of ultimates that they died with there, and they just first point given over just like that in the blink of an eye when it looked like Amplify really had that by the scruff of the neck. But I think PGE just feels a little bit too big for his britches there, and Mateball punishes him for it. Now it's Wisp who have control of the card, start moving it forward. Also sights from Chopper, which Amplify are going to have to respect here.
Yep, they absolutely need to. Playing further back, there's the Flux to land onto 2.
Good
Is that going
accretion.
to force them forward to be able to get a sightline onto it? Dragon Strike down below, dividing for the moment. Sunjun needs to be cautious, just in the tail end of the Dragon Strike, so they aren't going to get completely eliminated. And now they're topped up to push forward. Disruption shot, holding the corner so that they can continue to play up towards this high ground and keep an even playing field. You can just see in the back, it's consistently Power Boost jumping in the air to get those couple of shots and keep the team healthy, ready for this next engagement. Icy Discorded needs to be very cognizant of the incoming damage potentially from both Tap and PGE as they play across the street. PGE finds Magic 8-Ball, gets the revenge from earlier, and now has to force back Wisp.
Without 8-Ball, it's going to be difficult for them to stay here if you're Wisp. You don't have that Discord Orb and you don't have that long-range damage, and now with Sunjun going down, it's just about getting out of dodge right here with as much and as many members as you can. 2 minutes that's left. I mean, they're still fighting, which is... Tap getting a little bit too over-aggressive there.
Really was forced
forward. What is happening?
My, this is turning on a dime. You instantly had Tap go from being aggressive to the entire team being stomped and now overwhelmed that they're going to again lose another checkpoint.
I mean, this is again the same thing we saw a little bit back on Numbani, where it's like, if you're going to be that aggressive, you need to be very certain that you're going to be able to get kills there. And there, it just Amplify goes super aggressive and just completely falls apart because they aren't able to secure the kills that they thought they were going to get. They lose the gamble again. They lose second point, and now through third, I mean, this is just going to be Wisp trying to take as much of this point as potentially they can.
Nice stun for now. PGE coming online again. He's finding the shots necessary.
No one can hide.
But the infra is active for Chopper. Looking for some sights. Can't quite get it. Little dangerous to go into PGE. Really wants to hit that shot. Finally gets power boost midair. They deny the Flux.
Another accretion!
Oh my! Doge has got to be getting real on edge after both of those.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 Gravitic Fluxes that Doge has had. Both of them just get nothing because of the accretions from Ice. These are the second time that that's happened, and Wisp, I mean, it looked so scary for them on that first couple of defenses that they had from Amplify, but Amplify now is just falling apart at the seams, and Wisp have 2 minutes to continue to push forward and potentially cap.
Tap, though, defensively, getting rid of Magic 8-Ball is key with these 2 minutes left. Still obtaining this high ground. Icy gonna be here to chip away at the health value, growing near that Flux for the time being. Oh, with the Discord Orb. Oh my goodness, are they gonna try and get the Ricochet off the side? PGE's gotta fall back here. Now Flux down below, leaving him vulnerable, but has the Kinetic Grasp. Doge gonna get the coverage from the Transcendence. They've actually gotten rid of that, which is massive for Wisp to now play forward, but Chopper still coming back from spawn. The Dragon Strike from Tap. They're really starting to hold right before these final meters.
Yeah, very expensive fight, though, for Amplify throughout all of it. They have to use basically every single ultimate. Luckily, there's only a minute left, so by the time we get to this next fight, it's going to be last fight, especially if they can stagger out Icy here. But actually, Ant Matrix is committed. Wisp doesn't... It's happened again! Amplify just goes in, and they just get completely just Uno reverse carded, and now they have to retreat.
55 seconds. This looks a lot more favorable now for Wisp. Able to gain the space. The overclock is active. Amplify finally back at full strength coming out of spawn, but still disjointed in their positioning. The overclock goes for Tap, but Tap just says, I ain't staking up here, and they find the angle onto Buddy, but there's an immortality field at least forced out. Power Booster gets picked up by Chopper from the crossfire. Dropping down below, Sunjun looks for the shots onto PGE, who has a sliver of health remaining. The infra is available. Can they find the elimination? The supports are keeping him going. The health values are so critically low here for Amplify. They're just playing by the skin of their teeth to keep them alive in these 15 seconds. PGE and Tap, despite them being low, are actually holding on. PGE gets rushed down the center. Buddy getting chipped away again as the flanking angle. Power Boost gets the counterplay onto Sunjun. And the overtime is not going to proc. No one is here, and Wisp unfortunately cannot complete the round.
They do get those 2 points and basically like get all the way to third, which I think they're like probably counting their lucky stars that happened, because PG was on one. And PG, I can't imagine what this defense looks like if PG isn't just popping off. Even in that last fight, PG was able to get 2 huge picks that completely turned that fight around. So I mean, they got to be thanking their lucky stars that PG played as well as he did, because it could have looked way worse for them. And they probably would have gotten capped, but just a couple of times where Amplify has this advantage. They like want to go super aggressive, but Wisp is just so good at playing from these kind of quote-unquote deficits that every single time they would just throw down an Uno reverse card and say, hey, guess what? You're not winning this fight.
Yeah. And we'll see if they're able to reel it in on this attack, be able to just find moments that are going to allow them to take the advantage. Because even here, Sunjun goes in hyper aggressive, can't quite land the second follow-up onto the supports, because realistically, Power Boost is there to give them coverage. So all in all, at this point, Wisp on the defense has a chance to deny this going into an extra map. Amplified has to put everything they have into this, and once again rely a lot, I think, on PGE and Tap to find these initial pickups. But Chopper is not going to stick with the Sojourn coming out that we had from Sunjun, and they're both going to opt into the Widow and this Hanzo, as we saw already from Amplify.
Yeah, and I like this, especially on the defensive end, where like on the Hanzo, you have a lot more of like that room to set up in the back line. Sojourn, it's a little bit more difficult to kind of find those angles to work with. On the defensive end, because you kind of just have to sit in one area and be a little bit closer to the enemy team, but you don't really want that. As Chopper gets a nice pick to start things off onto Buddy, but Amplify still posturing here, trying to hold this space. They don't want to give it all up because those sight lines are so important to work with here.
And PGE, oh no, was really utilizing that payload to kind of narrow the sight line, but unfortunately gets taken down. Icy collapse onto Tap, and now we do see them again get rid of this first minute off the clock, feeling dominant and confident around this corner, and they're going to continue to try and put pressure, even almost going for a couple of shots on the PGE from spawn.
Yeah, trying to find that one grade A mahogany log there, see if they can find a way to take down PG before he can even get out of spawn, but we'll eventually start retreating back over here. But you're right, a minute has been taken off the clock already, and with kind of how slow these compositions work, I mean, that's a great thing to do, to be able to hold at this point of the map. And you see now Amplify taking back control of this point, and those sight lines are going to be a little bit easier for PG and Tap to work with.
And you can see Icy being very reserved in how they're utilizing the shield to make sure that they are blocking so the counter pick doesn't come in by PGE. Not wanting to overcommit it so they lose it and have to wait for it to regenerate. Up top though, both Tap and PGE. Sunjun gets the shutdown here after we already saw Chopper do the same previously, and Amplify once again being held on this corner because Tap can't really do anything either with Sunjun.
Yeah, I think now, like, having Sunjun on the Sojourn, like, probably very good and was doing a lot of damage, but just having Sunjun to be able to match those sight lines and help dealing with PGE with Chopper, I think has helped a ton with how Wisp have been playing this defense, because of the fact that now PGE just has to worry about not only one person on the other end, the other Widowmaker, but has to worry about Sunjun. And you can see Tap has just said, screw it, I'm not going for the Hanzo battle. I just need to put more pressure onto those backline members, potentially offer a little bit more spam, because we are not winning the sniper battle.
I mean, the challenge is that there's 5 ultimates about to be online for Wisp with 1 minute and 30 seconds. So if they cycle this effectively, they're going to be in a prime position to be able to hold before this initial point. Peek in the corner, goes to the accretion. Nice sidestep, though, from Doge. Flux active, gets the pick up onto 1. Doesn't quite get the support, so the Immortality Field is there to buy some extra time. Aggression forward with the Kinetic Grasp. They're stuck into the small room with the Dragon Strike, with beautiful timing on the Transcendence, but unfortunately it can't keep Power Boost alive. Buddy and Doge extremely low, and they are brought down once again.
Yeah, I mean, Sunjun is going absolutely bonkers. That entire fight that we were watching from the POV of Icy, you could see in the background that PG and Tap tried to duel with Sunjun, and both of them lost. Sunjun just 1v2'd the DPS line, and after that, I mean, there's no way for Amplify to get back into those fights, and with 45 seconds left, this is most likely last fight territory, and Amplify have to make wholesale swaps on their support line, and what are they going to really have besides the Gravitic Flux and maybe a Dragon Blade?
Yeah, this is the one last opportunity of a semblance. Oh, Chopper just gets out of it so they don't leave them vulnerable
Accretion
for the
again.
shot, and
He
it
does it
denied.
again.
3 times in total across this map, you have seen Doge be instantly denied with a heads-up play from Icy, reading it perfectly. Shots now from Chopper through the amplification matrix. You can see the dive coming in from Tap, and Chopper gets the dome! Unbelievable performance right now from Wisp. They're drawing back because they have one last opportunity to deny this checkpoint from being reached, but PGE finds Neb. Are they going to be able to keep this a moment longer? Shots come in. PGE is low, and Sunjun on the Genji play with a swap from earlier is able to deny it. The overtime now looking dire here for Amplified. Wisp able to hold the line and deny this. Well, Catmite with the blade able to pull this off, gets 2. They're gonna reposition forward.
They can win. This is winnable. With the rally, this is definitely winnable. They have to get back on point though. But Neb almost boops him off. It's traded back and forth. Chopper's here. It's just the Brig on cart. It's Chopper doing. Oh no, okay. They got it. Yeah. The squad Avengers united right in front of Chopper right there. But I mean, Amplify are luckily enough able to give themselves another lifeline here. 2.5 minutes to work with. I mean, very touch and go at the end there. Tap with a nice blade to kind of secure things. But I mean, this still looks very, very good for Wisp, all things considered. And this is a very tough part of the map to go through.
We'll see how they handle it. Tap. Looking for Sunjun. The deflect is active, denying the shots, but Sunjun able to get topped up here by Neb, along with the Orb of Harmony to keep them healthy, and PGE gets the better end of Chopper this time, now that they've opened it up and have really given way because Tap is causing more of the harassment, drawing their attention elsewhere.
And it's also that Sunjun is no longer on the Hanzo, has opted in to go over to the Genji. Here comes the Dragon Blade.
Couple of shots denied. Sunjun with the deflect. Can't aggressively go out until they're topped up. PGE is in the sights. Couple of shurikens. Goes for the dash reset with the melee as well. And now goes for another reset on the back line. And instantly going to clean up here.
Sunjun is slicing and dicing, shrooving and grooving right now on this Genji. I mean, the Hanzo looked good, but this Genji looks absolutely incredible as well. And for Amplify, it's getting into dire straits for them. Not a lot to talk about in terms of those ultimates. Rally's going to be one. They need to find Transcendence here in time. These neutral picks are going to be so important, but they're going to be walking into sites from Chopper, and PG has their own, so I don't really know if they can... Both of these teams can really aggress right now, but Buddy goes down!
Full knowledge for both teams, and the early pickup comes in for Wisp as a second falls close. Sunjun just going on a tirade right now in the back with a quad kill!
Yeah, just give us Sunjun POV, I think, for the rest of this game. Honestly, at this point, like, this has been an incredible performance on a variety of heroes for Sunjun, and Amplify, luckily enough for them, lose that fight quick enough to where they can come back into this fight with 4 key ultimates that are going to be big, but that Transcendence from Maypal, they need to find a way on Amplify's side to get it out either for that Gravitic Flux or for the Dragon Blade.
Flux is active. The Accretion attempts to deny it, but unfortunately can't land. Blade is active. Sunjun, we've seen already be able to put on a performance. The rally is active. Goes for the reposition with the dash up top to come back in. Rise and fall like a meteor from on high. Gets the pickup onto power boost. Everyone from Wisp falls in suit. And this will be a 3-0 performance once again from Wisp over Amplified. And what a stellar performance, to say the least.
Yeah, Wisp really starting to heat up towards the back end of this round robin. A 3-0 last week, a 3-0 here against an Amplify team who had a lot of momentum going into this one. A fantastic performance from Sunjun. I mean, this Genji play, the Hanzo play too, was absolutely cracked, but like this was just an amazing performance from Sunjun. I think as well, Icy deserves a ton of credit.
Yeah.
I don't think Doge hit a Gravitic Flux this entire map.
No.
Because they were always accretioned out by Icy, and that was something I talked about going into this series, was how is that matchup between Icy and between Doge, who's maybe not necessarily as prolific on something like a Sigma, how is that matchup going to go? And there we really saw kind of like how it is to be an incredibly talented and well-versed Sigma player to one who's just kind of like not played it as much throughout the history of Overwatch being a game.
And again, it's just that awareness, because you could see it where accretions were used more lucratively, more often from Icy, and then held because of just tracking the opponent's gravitic flux every time and reading the play so effectively. In addition, I also think it's the Genji sweater buff that helps out for Sunjun on that play, since they do have the
Wait, is it streetwear
skin.
Genji? I actually couldn't tell.
I'm pretty sure
okay.
it was the sweater. I'm almost 100% sure. I'm wearing a sweater. He's wearing a sweater. We're all gonna have fun wearing a sweater. But yes, so we do have.
I'm not. It's too hot.
I know,
There's
right?
no way.
Normally, I would say the same thing, but it's a little chilly here in my basement as I'm surrounded by concrete. But with that being said, we are going to head to a short break here, where we are going to be able to have an opportunity of speaking with, it looks like, Neb coming out here from Wisp. So don't go anywhere, friends. We'll be back in just a moment.
Do you like solving problems? Problems like how to stop that tracer from deleting your backline? I know just what you're thinking. Go bring a turret. But y'all can't solve all your problems by simply bringing an extra friend to the battlefield. For that, you need the Contenders Torbjorn skin. Solve your problems by connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. After that, watching Overwatch Contenders Summer Series will contribute to your drops progress, letting you claim your Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin. Even your turret gets an upgrade. Warning, the Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin does not come with extra or upgraded turrets. Build instructions will not be provided. By picking Torbjorn, you waive a claim towards any destroyed turrets. No refunds, no exchanges, and no take-backsies.
We're back, friends, with a lovely opportunity to speak with an amazing individual, at which that Kenobi and I have known for quite some time, amongst the collegiate scene, but also just now amongst contenders. Neb, how you doing, my friend? It's been a while. I think last time we got to see you in person was back at like HuFest, wasn't it? It was a while ago.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was a while ago.
Yeah, we got that picture with me and you, and then we had 10 set photo bomb. That's a great.
That's right.
Yes, we did.
That's right. That's right.
I remember that one. But so I mean, today seemed to be a good day for you. Light work that we talked about. 6-0 on the day, beating two, I think, pretty good teams. Specifically, beating Pip on that 3-0, and then now 3-0ing Amplify. Can you walk me through a little bit about that first one? Because Pip was at the time the #1 seed, and you're coming in for Squid, who I guess couldn't play, but like. Walk us through a little bit about that first one, because I want to know what your thoughts were since we didn't see that one on broadcast.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure Squid has COVID. I found out about 30 minutes before today that I was playing. So we were going against Pip, who was #1 seed. We'd just beaten 0-3 Splash, which was #1 seed the week before, 3-0. So we came in, we were just confident, and then we ended up 3-0ing as well. So I think we're just the number 1 seed. I don't know,
Yeah,
it
breaking
gives
them
us a
down.
buff.
Number 1 seed killers.
Yeah.
Number 1 killers, absolutely. Well, I mean, again, we hope for swift recovery, at least for Squid, who is out. But that does give the opportunity for someone like you, who we watch for an extremely lengthy period of time, play as proficiently as you have been. And it's really nice to see that you going into that match and then carrying over the same type of strength here. Was there anything last minute with you? Again, you're scrimming, but you're coming in last minute. Like, do you ever have like a mindset when things get shifted around that quickly due to just random occasions like this where Squid couldn't fill in?
I mean, with Wisp, I've been thrown onto main support and flex support just randomly in scrims all the time. Whether it be Maple working as a lifeguard or like Squid randomly not being able to show up, I've just been thrown in there. So I like to be adaptable, and I think on match day, no matter what, I'm able to step up.
Okay, so walk me through a little bit about this matchup in particular. We saw a lot of this dive with like the Winston and stuff like that. Then you go over to Circuit Royale, and it's kind of just a wash. It feels like for a lot of the time when it's like between like your team on Wisp and like having this 3-headed dragon, I'll call it, with like Rocket, Sunjun, and Chopper. I feel like there would be a lot of confidence in your team that there's not really a DPS style that like wouldn't fit your team because you have this like very in-depth roster and this like trio of DPS. Do you have a lot of? I imagine the confidence is pretty high playing with players like that on the on the front lines.
Oh yeah, I mean, we love to like swap each one in just because they all have that little flexibility or like style that they produce. Like Rocket on the Echo with Sunjun Tracer, that's a really good mix-up. And then we have our 2 Koreans on Circuit and a Sig player and 2 flex supports. That's what Maple was joking about before the match started. And teams keep taking us to Circuit. So whatever DPS we have in, we have 100% confidence in.
So I'm just curious because, again, Kenobi mentions the 3 of them that they're so lucratively able to swap out. What's like the communication with them just outside of competitive play? Like, do they have just this really just well-developed relationship between the 3 of them, knowing how they can just interchange with each other for your compositions?
Yeah, I mean, we joke about Sunjun being Chopper's son. Really, we're trying to slowly teach Sunjun some English because he doesn't speak it like fully. It's a second language. So over time, he's getting a lot better at English, and then I think that's really fun seeing him learn more and more.
Okay, so it helps with the comms a little bit, which is good to see. I mean, I think between a lot of you and like the matches we've seen where you've taken down the first seed or like the first seed killers that you are, it feels like the communication is like relatively good between you guys in terms of like when you're executing dives, being able to peel for the backline. Is that something you guys are actively working on a lot of the time? Because it does feel like, even though there is like potentially like a language barrier when Sunjun is in, or you're just like stepping in randomly, or not randomly I should say, but like you're stepping in 30 minutes before the games are supposed to start, it feels like beats aren't really missed when it's like I've watched you play against like this version of Wisp where you have you're in, Sunjun is in, and then the other version where like Squid is in. Is it something that you guys like realistically are trying to work on to like make sure that no matter what happens with this very deep roster that you have, the communication always stays to like the best level it could be?
Yeah, we've talked about making sure no matter what that we're all on the same page. Whether no matter what ult we use, we have to get some value out of it. So that's what we've really been harping on. And I think today it was good except for one fight on Circuit. But after that, we stepped it up and we got back into the rhythm. I think it's just about making sure we're all together and one person each fight does that.
Yeah, the rhythm is definitely something that we can see, and we're really looking forward to how that continues on again as we approach the guarantee of moving into playoffs. You've continued to solidify that you are a very, very well-rounded team, one to be fearful of, since you have that potential of taking down any one of these that we see in the upper portion of the seed selection. Like you said, the number 1 seed killers. Maybe you can continue to do that moving forward, and we greatly appreciate the time to chit-chat with you, Neb. It's been awesome. It's been a while since we've had the chance to chat with you, but it's always a good time, my friend. Hopefully we can get to see you in person again sometime soon.
Yeah, always a pleasure talking to you too.
All right, take care, my friend.
Thanks, Neb.
Oh, Kenobi. So yes, the number 1. We're gonna put that in like big bold letters. Like, number 1 seed
Number
killer.
1 seed killer. I mean, they've done it. They've done it twice. So I mean, I don't think they can do it with what I'm looking at in terms of the bracket like again, because they'd have to play O3 Splash. But They've already taken them down.
They already did it, yeah.
And they took
I
down
would say
Pirates
that
in
counts.
Pajamas, so they're feeling definitely really good, especially like the way that they've done it, right? I think that's the biggest thing to me is that they 3-0'd them both, and this is again a team that's like made a lot of changes. Last season, I'll say, in spring series they were like number 1 seed and then got bounced out of the tournament pretty unceremoniously in like 5th and 6th and made some changes, got some new members in, and they're looking really clean. I mean, again, this is a team that I'm not sure that I want to see in the bracket with how good that they're playing. The DPS trio seems to be firing on all cylinders really, really significantly. This meta and map pool feels like it's almost built for them. And there's not really like a weakness I could see besides like maybe something that Neb was talking about where it's like there are some ultimate like mishaps that happen from time to time, but beyond that, I mean, it looks like a really well-oiled machine.
And if that's really the one thing that you're looking to continue refining, there is more than enough time to be able to fix that going into playoffs if they can solidify that position. And I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to get to see the standings here to see where that finally is. We get to take a look at what the schedule looked like for today. For those that might be coming in a little bit later towards this tail end of the broadcast, it was a 3-1 0-3 Splash victory, as we did just conclude with a 3-0 win for Wisp over Amplify, who just unfortunately could not muster up the strength to be able to pull back into this, and Wisp really putting on a show as we can now take a look at the standings that is fully updated, Kenobi.
Yeah, I think there are some matches that haven't been confirmed just yet. There, like, I think that we're waiting on a couple because that map was so quick that there are some matches that haven't played out yet, but the biggest thing is the movement that I'm seeing, right? That there's a lot of movement in this like top area, right? Where Saints like go to 2nd, Wisp like go to 3rd. Pirates in Pajamas started the day off in the 1st seed. Now we're down to 4th seed. Afterlife, who was like earlier in the season, like really struggling towards like 9th, is like 9th and 8th is like 5th now. Amplify gets to stay, towards that 7th spot. Rift is climbed up. I think last week when we left Rift was in like 11th or 10th or something like that. And now they're fighting with Timeless for that 8th spot. They both, I think still have to play games. Strix has fallen off significantly. I remember seeing them and being very impressed with them. Now potentially not even making it into that 8th spot in the playoffs. So a lot of movement throughout a lot of these group stages. And I think the only team that's confirmed to be in playoffs right now mathematically is 0-3 Splash.
Yeah, and we actually do have tomorrow's schedule, and with all the names that we just talked about and how the movement is happening, this first game is going to be really, really well. I mean, realistically, technically both of them. I mean, among others that are going to be off broadcast, but still, like, there's so many things that can happen that for those wondering who's actually going to be able to guarantee the slot, you have to tune in tomorrow at that first match starting at 5 p.m. PDT.
I mean, for Timeless and Rift, it's literally both must-wins for them. They have to win these. Timeless needs to win this because they're hovering at 8th right now. And I think both Timeless and Rift are 3 and 6 before the games that are, we don't necessarily have the updated info yet, but like depending on, I think regardless of what happens in both those matchups, these are must-wins for both these teams. Dragon Dance is unfortunately out of the tournament, but they can still play spoiler against Rift, and Good Boys are a pretty decent team in and of their own right. So for Timeless and Rift, it's all to play for tomorrow in NA.
And with the discussion of NA, we cannot forget about EU, as we do have both Twisted Minds and Exoblivione going at it at the start. Again, Twisted Minds, as we continue.
Such a good one.
It really is. Yeah, it's going to be a really good one. Then we finish it off with tomorrow. Again, morning for us here on the US side, but again, that is going to be 6 p.m. CEST for the start, as Aya and SR Peak Check will be the second match to be watching out for.
These are both bangers.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to look at the standings.
Yeah, we're going to look at the standings.
It is the top 4.
1 versus 2 and then 3 versus 4. I mean, this is a great aperitif for like what we're going to be seeing in playoffs most likely. This is probably the teams that are going to be making it pretty far into the tournament. I think it's still very hard for me to bet against Twisted Minds, being 10-0, having only lost a singular map throughout the entirety of the round robin so far. So, like, this team is incredibly talented. Exoblivione is, like, close, I think, but I think tomorrow will be a great indicator of, like, how big that gap actually is between Twisted Minds and everyone else.
And then in addition to not only understanding the gap, it's going to find out what the specific weaknesses are that they can change and adapt because of the time that they have from this round robin stage into the playoffs. So there's a lot of things that can be developed and learned from this. And overall, it has been a great day for Overwatch. We've got some more tomorrow, which you're not going to want to miss out. It has been a pleasure for us today, all of us on the production end of it. Thank you for coming in to support as we do have that final round robin day tomorrow. So we hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. Take care, happy gaming, and we'll see you then, friends.
Oh, hello, Fancy Mini You here. It's so nice to see ya. Are you ready to survive the wastelands? Then you'll need to bring your shotgun, your axe, and of course, your knife for your sharp wit, if you get my drift. Hey, whoa. Hold on there. Don't forget to pick up your Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Yeah, gearing up is as easy as connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. And after that, watching the Overwatch Contender Summer Series will contribute to your drop progression, letting you claim your own wasteland-ready Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Oh, that's right. It's time to rampage. Now, get out there and slay with the Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Okay, take care now. See you in chat.